never make it this far. They hated, they never believe me. Yeah, I would never drop the ball. I know I make it look easy. Yeah, Mayweather with the defense. I don't care what a critic gotta say. I got them picking up the pieces. That to me, you really playing with your life. I'm about to come and run it all back. I'm the new era, about to snap back. You ain't fitting for it, cause you all cap like. Hold up, I shoot my shot, wait, hold up. I'm really about to run this go up. You know it's all net when it go up. Ain't got no other plans, you don't need to understand, ayy. We on overtime, you don't need to understand, ayy. You just show them how to do it when you don't know what to say. Tell me how you plan to win if you plan to play safe. Moving fast, already gone, yeah, but you bringing me back. Try to double cross me, dog, just let me relax. Stop assuming what we doing. Keep it moving, what we doing. Cause it can get dangerous. Cause it can get please don't play no games with me, I promise I'm too much. Ay, I can never let up even if you had enough. Ay, this ain't for the faint of heart, we always playing rough. I had enough, it ain't luck. I needed a vision, I needed ambition, I needed a mission to beat a submission with no intermission. I see the collision, the crash in the distance, they coming off track, no. Now when they ask what's the motive, don't talk about the show them. They all about to see what I mean in the moment. I gotta keep going, I'm shaking the dice and they're keeping it rolling, they already know. Ain't got no other plans, you don't need to understand, ayy. We on overtime, you don't need to understand, ayy. You just show them how to do it when you don't know what to say. Tell me how you plan to win if you plan to play safe. Moving fast, already gone, yeah, but you bringing me back. Try to double cross me, dog, just let me relax. Stop assuming what we doing. Keep it moving, what we doing. Cause it can get dangerous. Cause it can get dangerous. Cause it can get dangerous.
Salute, ATP, what's good? What's really good? Salute to the family, salute to the family, man. One more time, one more game. Happy New Year to all the people in the building. It is officially 2026. We had a great show a couple days ago with Greg Hackett. Shout out to Greg Hackett, somebody who I hope to plan on having on here more often. He said he wants to come on more often, so we're going to try to make that happen. Great perspective from somebody on the ground floor in the game, watching everything not only develop, but also in the process of developing his own resume with his own fighters, and he's building his situation from the ground up. So it's always great to hear from the great Greg Hackett, man. 2025 was a great year, right, ladies and gentlemen? Wasn't a bad year. A lot of movement, a lot of chess pieces moved around in 2025. We saw Turkey Al-Sheikh gaining. He's continuing to gain momentum with his movement, right? He's continuing to do that. We're also watching changes happen, right, with network deals. And hold on one second, guys. Hold on one second. Bear with me here. Oh, Lord, child. Hold on one second here. Hold on one second, guys. All right, I'm back. I hope that fixes whatever that was. I hate that, man. I hope that fixes it. Oh, no, it looks like it's the same nonsense. Let's see. Same nonsense. Oh, well. We got to play. I got to switch the game up, man, to the Starlink, man, and stop playing games. I'm definitely hesitating to do that and wasting my time with this landline internet, man. But it is what it is. As I was stating, great 2025. Going into 2026, we already know what we're going into the new year looking forward to see. We've got a big card coming up with Teofimo Lopez and Shakur Stevenson headlining that. First pay-per-view headline for both. For both, right? For both fighters, right? This is going to be a big card here. New announcements with the whole entire undercard. Very, very stacked undercard. Not a lot of people are going to say that. They're going to feel like it is what it is, right? But at the end of the day, great fights on the undercard, specifically the Keyshawn Davis, Jermaine Ortiz fight, a great fight. We got to talk about that today, guys, and look at it a little bit more with a microscope. Let's go deeper into that fight. Look at all the intangibles in that fight, because this fight right here has all the pieces to be fight of the night. A, B, also Keyshawn Davis coming off of a hiatus. We know what happened. We'll go through it. We'll talk about it, right? Everything that's happened with Keyshawn Davis up until this point. He's made a lot of changes in his camp. This is going to be him coming back, not only coming back, but coming back into a new weight class division. And in my opinion, walking and getting in front of his most accomplished, most experienced opponent in the Jermaine Ortiz, who's been in the ring with the likes of Lomachenko, Teofimo Lopez, and gave both opponents, both of those guys, champions, both pound for pound champions in their own right? Both lineal champions, unified champions, giving them a run for their money. And arguably, in a very controversial decision against Teofimo Lopez, Jermaine Ortiz just is a fighter that one might say just needs to tweak some things, just tweak a couple of things for him to become a champion, right? This is a huge opportunity for Jermaine Ortiz, working his way back up from the Teofimo Lopez controversial decision. He's had about 3 fights since that fight. We've seen him now become a more active fighter, working on his front foot, working with a very active lead hand and looking to stop fighters now, right? He's not just looking to be the counter puncher, but he's also being the first one out the gate as well. So we'll talk about that today. Keyshawn Davis, what adjustments is he going to make? I'm not aware completely of who his new trainer is. I'm getting some words, from the grapevine of who that trainer is, but definitely not with Bomac now at this point, at least. He's made some changes ever since that crazy weekend, or at least crazy night, we'll say, in Norfolk, Virginia, when he was supposed to have his second homecoming fight. The whole city came out for him. He blew weight on the scale, lost his championship title, right? And now went in a hiatus, Top Rank him. I don't even know what the relationship is like between Keyshawn Davis and Top Rank at this point, but he's come back with a new mindset about the game, right? Keyshawn Davis owning his own downfall, but also, speaking on recognizing how the space is and the fan base, and somebody who's not so caught up in caught up in the idea of becoming a champion. He has a whole different perspective. He wants to make the biggest fights. We were listening to Keyshawn Davis talk about his career after this fight, right? He's talking about going to 147. He's talking about fighting Devin Haney. He wants a challenge, become a champion at 147. Is Keyshawn looking past Jermaine Ortiz? Should he be more focused on the fight that's in front of him right now with Jermaine Ortiz? We'll talk about that as well. And see how that develops. Also, coming up this week on Saturday, we have Subriel Matias versus Dalton Smith. This fight right here, a lot of people are picking Subriel Matias to really steamroll Dalton Smith, and I kind of get it to a certain degree, right? But we do, and we should remember Dalton Smith versus Liam Paro and how that fight ended up turning out, right? We got to remember how that looked, right? That's the last time we saw Subriel Matias. I mean, outside of that fight with Alberto Puello as well, I mean, listen, that decision was a controversial decision to a lot of people, right? A controversial decision. A lot of people thought Alberto Puello won that fight. Once again, Subriel Matias with the boxer in front of him having to make these adjustments. Is this going to be some sort of redemption from the Liam Paro fight? Well, he's had a lot of experiences then, and he's become a WBC champion, even amidst all the performance enhancement drug issues, right? He had Osterine in his system under some threshold amount. And that's a conversation within itself, because if you ask me, it shouldn't be in his system at all. It being in the system is an issue. We don't know what the life, right? We don't know what the life is for these supplements when they're in their system. We don't know if we're catching him as he's weaning off, as it's coming out of his system, or why he even has it in the first place. I mean, the first thing that people want to jump to is into the supplements, tainted supplements. I don't know. Are they doing the proper testing on that? Regardless of the fact he's fighting Dalton Smith next week. We'll talk about that fight as well for Subriel Matias. News is spinning all over the space also. And of course, we got the new phone line in. So the phone lines will be opened up very shortly. I really want to interact with you guys a lot more this year. 2026 is going to be more about interacting with the community. I'll open up the phone line. I'll have the phone line open in a second for people to call in. And let me get your perspective, guys. That's what this is all about, right? Trying to get a hold of this content creation space and how this works, right? What you guys want. It's one thing to give you guys the news. It's one thing for you guys to hear my perspective, in the panel's perspective at times. But there's a lot of people out there who have real perspective on this as well, but they don't want to get on the panel, right? You don't want to hit a StreamYard app and jump up on the screen and be a star for the world. You just want your voice to be heard. So now we put a phone number out there. We'll scroll it. Matter of fact, I'll scroll it right now. You know what I mean? But I'll scroll that right there. There's a number. Feel free to call the number whenever you feel like it. If you got any input in on the conversation, and we'll take it from there, right? I'm gonna ask you guys to hold one more time, man. Hold the line one more time while I try to figure this out and see if I can get this feed to be cleaner. Let me see. Is it cleaner now, or is it still freezing on me, guys? I don't know what that's all about, man. These apps, man. I gotta say it's the internet. Hold on one second. I have no idea. There it is. It's doing the same shit, man. Can't do nothing about it. It is what it is. I can't do nothing about it, guys. It's Saturday. That's the reason why. It is what it is. The phone line, yeah, man. Oh, okay, it could be your device's storage. Okay, I'll check on that. Maybe that's what it is. Shout out to Kaizu 953 with that computer knowledge. But it looks like it's better now. It looks like the connection's a little bit better now. So we'll go with that. There's a phone line. Feel free to give it a call. Let's talk about this Keyshawn Davis, Jermaine Ortiz situation. This fight coming at, I put on the thumbnail, styles make fights, right? And that's what boxing is all about. Styles do make fights, right? Where a fighter may look dominating for a certain amount of fights, that can lead you to believe that he's going to take over everything. But is he getting all the looks? There's an argument there that said that Keyshawn Davis, we've all heard Keyshawn Davis being a fighter that people believe is looking like a young Terrence Crawford, right? That's what they're saying. He looks like a young Terrence Crawford. Okay, fine. What does that mean? That means that he's moving. His timing, his speed, his power, all these different intangibles. But who is he doing that against, right? Who is Keyshawn Davis doing that against? I mean, let's look up at the resume real quick. Because one thing's for sure with Keyshawn Davis is, although he's looked impressive inside the ring, the man is only 13 professional fights into his career. 9 of those fights coming in by way of stoppage, right? And that's impressive. And I like what I see. The eye test always tells me one thing, right? When you think about the Jerron Boots Ennis's, the Abdullah Masons, you could go down a list of fighters that you go in and you say the eye test tells you so much about the fighter. But we know now at this point, right, guys, if Turki Al-Sheikh has exposed anything in the boxing space right now, is that the eye test is only part of the conversation. The actual test that we want to see is a test inside of the ring. We need to see that test inside the ring because we don't know who you are until you face those opponents. Now, looking here at Keyshawn Davis's resume right here, let's see his last couple of fights here. Let's start from the Nahir Albright fight, to be honest with you, right here at the Nahir Albright fight, because this is the fight I think where we first started to see some things in Keyshawn Davis where a fighter actually it was a good fight, but a super close fight, controversial. Some people felt like Nahir Albright won the fight. We know the story behind the no contest and why it's a no contest, about him smoking a little marijuana, right? Doing his thing, right? But at the end of the day, we still saw 10 rounds in that fight. And look at the scorecards here. 95-95, John Basil scored at a draw. Robert Hoyle scored at 96-94. David Sutherland scored at 97-93, right? This was in Texas that this decision came through. And this is the first time we saw Keyshawn Davis in a really, really competitive fight. Questions may have came up for some people on this fight, right? After seeing this fight, they might have said, oh man, should he have looked like that in front of Nahir Albright? I mean, although Nahir Albright is a contender, to say the least, this was going to be his biggest test. And when he got into his biggest test, he had a difficult time adjusting in that ring. Now, he went through a little bit of a hiatus. He got suspended off the back end of the marijuana abuse. We saw Keyshawn Davis return back, more spiritual, more connected to his God, seemed like he was more dialed in and focused in on boxing. And he had one of the best years in 2024, one of the best comeback years. He was in the same conversation for me as Daniel Dubois, who also had a great comeback year that year. Matter of fact, I think Daniel Dubois got the comeback of the year at the Ring Magazine Awards. It was Daniel Dubois who received it. He had a great run, but Keyshawn had his own run, right? He comes back, he fights Jose Pedraza. This in his return here, he stops Jose Pedraza in 6 rounds, stops him. Then he goes into a very competitive fight with a flat-footed Mexican who was bringing all that pressure to him in the Miguel Madueno. He went the full 10 rounds, but dominated that fight with a fighter who was bringing nonstop pressure to him, just pushing his foot on the gas, and he showed he could deal with that. He had the grit. He stood his ground. Or at times he was getting lifted in the air by Miguel Madueno. That was crazy, right? And then you go into the Gustavo Lemos fight, right, in 2024. And that fight was supposed to be a great fight off the strength of, we saw Gustavo Lemos and what he did against Richardson Hitchens, right, who's another story. We got to talk about him. Maybe we might talk about him a little bit later as well, right? But we saw him dominate Gustavo Daniel Lemos, who blew the weight on scale, right, blew it out. And he didn't just beat him, he dominated him, destroys him inside of 2 rounds, right? Destroys him inside of 2 rounds. And now everybody was ready to see Keyshawn Davis. That fight was a huge fight because that was going to put him in position for a title fight next against the current, at that point, WBO champion and Dennis Berinchyk. We all knew that was going to be great, but what made it even better probably for him, right? I mean, that night was not only a big night because of the fight, it was his homecoming in Norfolk, Virginia, right? He fought in Norfolk, Virginia. The whole city showed up for him. It was epic. A star was born. At that point, even before he got the title, people were talking about Keyshawn Davis getting in the ring with the lights of Gervonta Tank Davis. Thought that might have been one of the biggest fights that could happen in the lightweight division. And even, of course, fighting his brother in arms in Shakur Stevenson, a fight that both these guys have stated will never happen. But still, everybody still wanted to see, Keyshawn Davis in all of these fights, in all of these conversations. This at what? He was like 11 fights into his career, 11, 12 fights into his career at that point. So the next fight for him naturally was going to be the Dennis Berinchyk fight. He gets into the ring with Dennis Berinchyk, and we knew that Dennis Berinchyk had a high pedigree, great boxer, but he was a little smaller, shorter guy, but we expected to have to see Keyshawn Davis show up in a different way in this fight, being that Dennis wasn't just going to be there in front of him like Gustavo Lemos was, like Miguel Maduenos was, right? Jose Pedraza is a fighter who boxes and punches as well, but there's an argument there to say that he stayed at 135 a little too long. He should have stayed up at 140. And also on the back end, long in the tooth in his career, wasn't the best Jose Pedraza we ever saw. But regardless, Dennis Berinchyk was going to bring that Olympian background. And Keyshawn Davis is an Olympian as well himself, but he was going to bring that into the ring, and we're going to see Keyshawn Davis show that pedigree, that boxing, right? And he didn't really have to, right? Beat up Dennis Berinchyk to his body, took his time, broke him down, and got him out of there. The next fight for him that was going to be the real coming out party for him was going to be Edwin De Los Santos, right, guys? Edwin De Los Santos was going to be the fight for Keyshawn Davis, and that fight ended up not even happening. Why? Keyshawn blows weight. On top of that, had a very, very eventful weekend, we'll say, right? He had a very eventful weekend, and that ended up putting him in a position to where not only did he not get the fight to show the world, but he was stripped of his title. And at that point, Keyshawn Davis said, listen, man, I tried to make the weight. It was difficult for me to make the weight. I'm going to move up in weight, but this on the back end of Top Rank getting ready to move on from their deal with ESPN, and there was so much going on. Looked like Keyshawn just decided at that point to take a hiatus from the space, So I'm good on boxing right now, and boxing seems to be good on me, right? Everybody was turned against him. He went and got into an altercation, I'm going to say, with Nahir Albright, and that situation didn't work out favorably for him. He started talking about retirement, and now he wasn't focused on boxing. I think we all knew, real boxing fans knew Keyshawn Davis wasn't going anywhere. It was just a matter of time before we heard about him coming around. But who was he going to come back against? Well, at the Teofimo Lopez Shakur Stevenson press conference, we saw Keyshawn Davis have a little bit of a face-off, a little bit of a face-to-face situation with Richardson Hitchens, the current 140-pound IBF champion. Now, Richardson Hitchens, as I said, is in another conversation because he doesn't seem to be really in the spirit of making these fights happen, right? He only has like maybe one or two fights he seems to talk about, one of them being maybe Devin Haney, and then maybe, I don't know, right? Maybe a Teofimo Lopez, right? Those two fights are probably the two main fights he talks about having. Everything else seems to be like pulling teeth for this guy to get a fight happening. So needless to say, rumor was circulating in the space that Richardson Hitchens and Jermaine Ortiz were right towards the end of negotiating and finalizing a contract, and that they were indeed supposed to be on that undercard. We heard about 2 weeks ago, a week and a half ago, boom, Keyshawn Davis comes out on social media, tells the world, he tells us he's back, he's ready to do it, and he's ready to do it big. Awesome against Jermaine Ortiz. Man, what a great comeback fight, right? Some people may have forgotten about Jermaine Ortiz. Maybe some people forgot about him because the Teofimo fight went by. His other fights were on the undercard prelims, on the zone undercards, and maybe you didn't see him in his last couple of fights. The last fight you might remember from Jermaine Ortiz might be the Teofimo Lopez fight. Maybe you thought Jermaine Ortiz won that fight. Maybe you thought that, right? Or maybe you thought Jermaine Ortiz ran around the ring the whole fight and didn't want to engage with Teofimo Lopez. I don't know how you look at it, right? But regardless, that fight happens, a controversial ending to that fight. However you want to look at it, Teofimo Lopez walks away with criticism. He can't cut the ring off from Jermaine Ortiz. Jermaine Ortiz, more importantly, walks away with criticism. He can't close out on the big show. He lets those last couple of rounds go the same way he lost against Lomachenko, took his foot off the gas, tried to coast into a victory, and the judges weren't ready to give him a win over those caliber fighters, right? Over a decorated future Hall of Famer in Vasily Lomachenko, or in a arguably pound-for-pound fighter like Teofimo Lopez on Teofimo Lopez's card. They weren't ready to give him wins that way. So Jermaine Ortiz had to walk away from that fight, maybe feeling like he won, but if he's smart, and I consider Jermaine Ortiz to be a very intelligent man, he walked away and scrutinized his performance. That's what he should have done, right? Because at the end of the day, winning is the most important thing. You can't always make it about the judges getting it wrong. You got to take it out the judges' hands. I don't mean it has to be a stoppage, but you have to start delivering dominant performances, right, ladies and gentlemen? We can get with that, right? Dominant performances. Jermaine Ortiz's inability to deliver dominant performances put him in a situation where he's falling on the opposite side of a win when it comes to the judges in these big fights. He builds himself up 3 fights later. Here he is. He's back in the ring with a future star, if not a current star, a fighter who's getting a lot of credit for what he can do. What he's done is what he's done, but I think people are looking more about what's in front of Keyshawn Davis more than what's behind Keyshawn Davis. And Jermaine gets an opportunity to get right back in the conversation he's always found himself to be in, but now he has to change, make adjustments. Something has to give in this one for Jermaine Ortiz. Now, look, we can look at what Jermaine Ortiz has been doing as well. We can take a look at his resume as well and see what Jermaine Ortiz has been up to since that Teofimo Lopez fight. Since the Teofimo Lopez fight, as I stated, he's had 3 fights. One against Christian Ruben Mino. This guy was pretty much a cherry pick, right? This was a fighter for Jermaine Ortiz to get his legs back up on him, to get a stoppage, to show himself as another kind of fighter. He comes into this fight, the bigger guy. Looks like he could have been a 147-pounder in his fight, but he's on his front foot now. He's not bouncing around the ring as much as he was against the Teofimo Lopez fight. And guys, I want to send it back at you and remind you guys, in the Vasily Lomachenko fight, if you guys really watched that fight, Jermaine boxed, but he was on his front foot. He was mixing it up. That's probably the best Jermaine Ortiz I've seen, was him against Vasily Lomachenko, right? Although he lost that fight, and I don't feel like the decision was controversial, like with Teofimo Lopez, but a good, well-rounded Jermaine Ortiz. You got to be that way when you get in the ring with a tactician like Vasily Lomachenko, right? But regardless, we've seen him now in his Christian Ruben Mino fight. Now he's on his front foot, a very active lead hand. Jermaine Ortiz has a very active lead hand, right? That lead hand, right? That left hand stays out in front of him, right? And he sets everything up behind it. And sometimes he's doubling up, tripling up on the jab. He's level changing. He's so active with that hand that he can feint usually by the end of the first round or going into the middle of the second round. Those feints start sticking because he gains the respect of his opponents behind that jab and his ability to control the distance and set up shots. But on this fight that he had here going into the Christian Ruben Mino fight, not only did he have an active hand, but he also started to have a killer instinct about him. He wanted to get that guy out of there, but that's not saying a lot, right? Because at the end of the day, Christian Ruben Mino was there for that. He was actually there for that type of hold on one second here. He was actually there for that type of performance, right? That's what he was there for. But going to his next fight against Yomar Alamo, there we go again, a more competitive fight, but still dominated and showed his boxing and stayed behind his boxing and earned his name, right? They call him the tactician or something like that, right? And he's a very tactical, strategic boxer first, then puncher fighter. And then this last fight he had against Batista, he comes in on this one though, but blows weight on the scales, I believe, right? He doesn't make weight on this fight. So was it a discipline issue? Was he having a hard time staying and making the weight at 140? Some people were rumoring that Jermaine Ortiz was going to head into the welterweight division at 147 pounds. Maybe he outgrew the division. Who knew what it was going to be? But regardless, the performance was still a performance to where, and by the way, Batista, let's look at Batista, by the way. 6 foot tall fighter. So he's a bigger fighter, a taller fighter, right? 20 wins, 12 knockouts. So, what is that? 60% knockout ratio. So at the end of the day, he had to adjust in this one. Was giving up on the reach, was giving up certain things, but he was able to get behind that boxing, get behind that lead hand, put that pressure, break down Batista. Batista ends up, I think, having a shoulder get out of whack in like the third round or so. His shoulder gets out of the socket. But regardless, before that situation happened, Jermaine Ortiz was putting together a clinic against him, right? What was the next fight going to be for Jermaine Ortiz? He was looking for his next opportunity, blowing the scales on this fight. Was he going to go to 147 and see if he can get himself and work his way back up in there? Or was he going to continue to figure out something that he could do here at 140 pounds? He gets a phone call. He stated, shout out to Mill City, in an interview with Mill City, that he knew it was either going to be Richardson Hitchens or it was going to be Keyshawn Davis. He understood that both these guys were on the table. His big opportunity was going to be there. And since Teofimo Lopez, here comes the next biggest opportunity, probably one of the biggest cards of the year. Let's look at the year, right? Oh, hold on one second here. I got me a text message. Oh, okay. Let me just close out what I was saying right quick. Let's bring in my brother right quick. But yeah, so Jermaine Ortiz finds himself in a situation now where he's co-headlining on maybe the biggest card of the year, right? We'll see what the year has to present us. But right now, this one right here, Teofimo Lopez versus Shakur Stevenson, a huge card. And Jermaine Ortiz gets to bring all of that experience he's built over the past past 2-3 years that he's built for himself. And let's see what that looks like in the ring in front of a Keyshawn Davis, who's bringing in a new trainer now. He says he's returned now with a new trainer, a new mind state, not looking for the belts as much, even though he says he wants to be a champion at 147. He has to deal with that. We all know him and Shakur Stevenson have this weird thing going on where they're ending up in the same division and they're not wanting to fight each other. And he's consistently being the one who's respecting the big bro and moving around accordingly. We'll see how long he continues to do that, because those guys just seem to be inevitably running neck and neck with each other. And the space is never going to let this go. They're going to constantly push on him to make this fight, right? It is what it is, right? Let me pull this down real quick here. And at the end of the day, how does this turn out for both fighters? Does Jermaine Ortiz give Keyshawn Davis the look that Keyshawn Davis hasn't seen in a while, that gives him problems? And is he able to derail Keyshawn Davis's plans to go up to 147 pounds and get in the way of a Devin Haney and do all these different things in a welterweight division that's coming together slowly but surely, you're seeing fighters coming, seeing Conor Benn coming down. You saw Devin Haney go up. You're seeing Ryan Garcia get ready to make a move and become a title holder in that division. New stars are developing. Tiger Johnson seems to be building some momentum up behind himself. Rohan Polanco right there in the conversation. Brian Norman Jr. isn't going anywhere. He's hanging right there in the division. This is where Keyshawn wants to be, but this performance right here, everything there's steps to everything. And the big step for Keyshawn Davis right now is to focus on this opponent in front of him in Jermaine Ortiz. And we'll talk about that as well, because in an interview Keyshawn Davis had, he spoke about everything he's trying to do. And, there's arguments out there to say that, is he focusing on the wrong things right now at this moment? It is what it is, right? I'm going to take a moment to go ahead and bring up my brother, co-host, Ray motherfucking Davis.
Boy. Great breakdown of both fighters and their fight previously. What took place, everything.
I'm just gonna let it run there.
Okay. I gotta do the Angelo.
It's on the loop. It's on the loop. Okay, you know what I'm saying? It's on the loop. By the way, shout out to everybody who's in the building. Greg, give me 1 second. Let me do this as well. Haven't done this. Let me shout out everybody who's in the building. Shout out to my brother, Frequent Flyer, in the building, man. Shoot me the salams. Walaikum salam, King. Good to see you in the build, Aki. Boom. SOB TV says, salute Claymore. Blessings to you, brother. May this new year be big for the channel. 100%, man. That's what I'm hoping for as well. I appreciate that, man. Kaitsu953 says, never change the theme song. Salute Mr. Rain in chat. Nah, man. The theme song is legit, man. Really captures the energy of what we're doing out here in these YouTube streets. Shout out to Champ Ross in the building. Sup, fellas? Champ Ross says, Flyer, sub to my channel, trying to get you in my fantasy boxing league. Yeah, Champ. I'm gonna get in that boxing league this year. I didn't get into it. You sent it to me before, but I didn't. The terminology. Salute to you, man. Salute to the terminology, man. Let's see here. Rayo, right? Looney 1294. Ray Looney 1294. Okay. Salute, Blay. You're not lagging on my computer, though. It's seeming clear to me, no doubt, man. Appreciate that. I was lagging a little bit, man. Shout out to my brother Lance Meyer in the building. Salute Lance Meyer in the building. Let me continue to go ahead. Shout out to Pop Shot Talk 73 in the building. Pop Shot, what's good with you, King? Let me see here, man. Kaisu says, I can't get with that dude. Put on dominant performances and still get robbed. Man, I know you're talking about Jermaine. Let me see here. Ray Davis. Did I catch him missing anybody here? Loves ATL. Wait. Love Seat Legend. They're not running neck and neck. Keyshawn's about to move up to 147 after this fight. Shakur's only looking at 147 with the rehydration clauses. Yeah, I get it. I get what you're saying. Love Seat Legend. But what I mean neck and neck is to say, like, unless Shakur commits to staying at 135, Keyshawn going to 147, it seems like they're constantly running into each other. This move right here, hopefully it is the real move. Hopefully Keyshawn is able to compete in the division without Shakur in the division getting in his way to do what he wants to do, and hopefully Shakur respects. I would say this, if Shakur were to make a move up to 147 and compete up there, like let's say he goes and he fights Devin Haney, let's say he beats Devin Haney, right, and he becomes champ. If he campaigns at 147, at this point in the game, I think there's an argument there to say that Keyshawn should take it personal. He should feel some kind of way at that point. At that point, it's like, you can't keep on hopping into my division. You know what I'm saying? That and staying there, and we keep on having to have this argument with the public about us competing with each other. It's almost diabolical of you at this point. If I go up to 147 at this point, and we find ourselves up in that same division at some point or another, I think Keyshawn should take some issue with the disregard for his career that Shakur may be having constantly. I mean, there's an argument there to say that this Teofimo fight was a Keyshawn Davis fight that should have been there on the table. Now, I'm sure Teofimo would have done everything he could to get out the way of making that fight happening. So maybe this one we can give some grace to it, where Keyshawn could be honest with himself and say, bruh, you might as well take it because he ain't gonna fight me. Right? But at 147, bruh, now you playing too much, bro. You said you was a 135 pounder. You're asking for rehydration clauses at 147. Now you're up here campaigning. That's going to be an issue for me. I'm sure it is what it is. So me and Ray about to talk about it in a second. Shout out to Sam from Jersey. Says, salute Claymore, Rain, ATP Combat Media. Salute. Make sure I'm not missing nobody. Let me see here. Richard Sampson in the building says, peace and blessings. MMA boxing in the building says, salute. Always turning in for some great breakdowns. No doubt, man. Let me see. He said, I see your point, but I don't see it happening. I hear you. I hear you, brother. Ray, what's good with you, King? What's good, man?
Chilling, man. Chilling. Just like I said, just diving in, excuse me, to what you're saying. And listen, man, it's a great breakdown. This whole Keyshawn thing is a mystery. And I'm going to tell you and my thoughts why I believe it's a mystery. There's three different directions he can go. He can go straight, right, or left, right? One direction is he celebrates him moving to 147 after this fight, and he stays there at 140 and campaigns for a little bit, get himself in a position, maybe getting a belt to use that as leverage at the next level, right? Just to get out the way of his brother. Well, I'm not gonna say so-called brother, his brother Shakur Stevenson, and not so much moving for that point, but moving for legacy. Because being a 2-division champion has more to sell than it does being I had one fight and I moved up type thing without even accomplishing anything in a division. Plus, he also called out Abdullah Mason, saying that he knew Abdullah Mason was going to be at 140 in a little bit, and he would love to have that fight. So that's another thing. Then you have the whole altercation with Hitchens, who was a 140 champion. So it's a lot of looks like indecisive decisions on the left side. When we go straight into it, we take his word for it. We see him take a fight, and then he moves into the division quietly. He goes up, he takes a couple of fights, gets acclimated, puts himself in position to fight for an interim title, gets that title shot, wins a belt against somebody, and then gets in the way of who? Devin Haney. Why? Because that's the guy he wants to fight, and he knows that he needs to have some hardware in order to make that fight because of the high risk, low reward factor. Then we have Wright. We're not going to go up there. We're just selling wolf tickets. We're really going to stay at 140. And if the time is there, it's there. If it's not, it's not. We're just talking because this is what I know how to do. Sell you guys on a dream. And I'm going to sell you guys on this dream. And I'm going to commit to it when I feel like it. It doesn't matter what you think. And I'm going to stay at 140. I'm going to campaign. I'm going to fight who I got to fight here. Beat all these ducks up. And as I collect my information, my stats, then I'll move up when the time is right for me, not because I need to move up to get in the way of Devin Haney or anybody else. It's just because it's naturally a growth, not because I'm forcing myself to go somewhere after a fight with Jermaine Ortiz or I need a belt status. This is what I need to do to move my career forward. So those are the three options I see. I know the last one and the first one sound similar, but they're different. But they're different paths. But I just see that this is a big it's a big step either way, however you take it with Keyshawn. As far as Jermaine Ortiz, which I think I've been starting to see some characteristics with him, questionable in big fights. I think he has thoughts. He has redemption in his heart. He figures that he has to make a name for himself. He does not want to be the gatekeeper. He does not want to be the guy that is known as I'm the stepping stone for you to get to your big payday, because he's that guy that's in between top tier and just acclimate journeyman. And he doesn't want that. He has losses that he believes he shouldn't have got. And I think a lot of people can agree with him. He has gotten ran through the mill shed a little bit. And those guys have taken advantage of his talents. And I think sometimes he has to question if he's going to get into this fight, what does he have to do to win? So we might be seeing a Jermaine Ortiz that we've never seen before. We've maybe seen a Jermaine Ortiz that may be more proto-focused on the fight. We may be seeing a Jermaine Ortiz that may have some thoughts in his mind saying, hey, man, I already know what they're going to do to me. I'm just going to go in here and just do whatever. And if I lose, I lose. I just want to say I see certain things in his eyes, but I don't see it translating in the ring. We just have to wait and see what happens in these fights. But I'm hoping we get the best Jermaine Ortiz, and I hope he does pose adversity session or two for Keyshawn Davis, regardless of who wins this fight. We want to see them both give each other their best. And if we're not going to get that, then we always got to step back and wonder why. And does anything play a part in these things? Because trickery and mystery is a big thing in the brain. And once you have certain thoughts in your brain, we talked about this with Devin when he had with the Ryan thing, when he fought Ramirez, and we was like, yo, that's going to play a big part. It's going to play a big part. And when these things start playing mind tricks on you and you get into that zone, you find yourself looking a certain way. And I don't think we want to see Jermaine like that. We want to see her give it his best. We want to see Keyshawn bounce back off the carpet and give it his best. And I'm hoping for a good fight.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, and I think Keyshawn, I was talking to somebody a little earlier saying that Keyshawn is kind of like a Jamal Charlo to me in some ways. What I mean by that is he seems to leave all the nonsense outside the ring. Once he gets in the ring, he is the businessman. He gets right to it, handles his business. Looks like boxing would be his, that's that place where he doesn't play around in, right? He always seems to dial in those moments. So I expect Keyshawn Davis to be a focused fighter, but I agree with you. Like with everything that Keyshawn Davis has been through, without a doubt, there's questions about the mental space of Keyshawn Davis. There's questions about that. Although he's been able to deliver it inside the ring, but now he's made a huge move, right? The last time he had a bit of a holdup was when he fought against Nahir Albright. After that fight, once again, outside the ring issues bleeding into the ring, turned that fight into a no contest. But, he was suspended and had to kind of be humbled a little bit as he was beginning to project and, speak his mind about the space, about boxing, and, was talking a little crazy and had to dial it back a bit. His team has always been able to bring him back full circle. And when I say his team, Ray, I'm talking about Bomac. I'm talking about Terrence Crawford. I'm talking about Shakur Stevenson. I'm talking about the influences he has around him that's been able to dial him back in and get him focused and was able to give him a crazy 2024 and then bringing in 2025 with that championship fight against Dennis Berinchyk. But this one seems to be different to me. You let me know what you think about it. It's a little different to me because now he's cleaned up the team. He's no longer with Bomac. I don't know what the relationship is like with Terrence Crawford. I know he's still there with Shakur and he's dialed in. He's been helping Shakur get ready for this Teofimo Lopez fight, but now he's bringing a new trainer to the table. Does this change him up? And did we want to see Keyshawn Davis change that way? What do you think?
That's another good point too. I literally forgot to leave that off my list. Go ahead and take care of that super chat.
Yeah. Salute to the Libra 926 in the building. Says something light for the great bro. Happy New Year. Thank you, brother. I appreciate you, man. Thank you, Libra. Salute, man. But go ahead.
That's another point of adversity that we have to see faced with Keyshawn Davis. Is him removing what he believes is a toxic situation out of his life going to be the answer to all? We've seen people change when they have good things going for them, and they change because they believe they've grown, and it worked for them in so many ways, right? But has he really? Because Bomac, I think, was a significant point in direction for Keyshawn. I think he gave him a lot of good pointers, treated him like Bud. He gave them. We seen a lot of Bud, Terrence Crawford, slickness and creativity of the mind in Keyshawn. But is it Keyshawn a smart guy where he remembers and can build upon what he has already learned? Because if that's the case, then we're going to see a better Keyshawn Davis because he's just adapting to more things. If not, then we're going to see Keyshawn in a situation where we might see Jared Anderson, per se, where we've seen a guy that was in the camp with Shakur Stevenson, sparred, been around Terrence Crawford, sparred with some of the guys in that camp, and turned into something he wasn't, a slick heavyweight, which we thought we would never see. And we see Keyshawn getting a little slick and showing that he has hands and he can do this and do that off the back foot. He doesn't have to fight this way, and trying to prove to us that he's a different type of fighter, and see him get caught or look a little less Keyshawn-like to us. That is the question. I don't know, man, if everything pans out the way he plans. And this is what is a big question mark, I think, in a lot of people's eyes. Why change when everything's going right? Obviously, we knew he had to do the situation with Top Rank or whatever going on behind there. He changed his management team because he felt that something went on there. So at the end of the day, we have to really dial in onto what took place with Bomac, and if that's going to be effective or not. If Bomac has any inklings or any planning per se into this fight as he moves away from Bomac, or was there a fallout because the money was messed up with Bomac, and Bomac was like, "Look, man, you messed up my bread. You out of here." Blah blah blah, and that just soiled the whole pot. Now we have to wait and see. Answers will come, I'm pretty sure, in the near future. We just have to be patient and wait for them. I hope that everything is still good in that team, but It just,
I mean, clearly something's going on, right?
yeah,
Right? I
but
mean,
something
they're not
ain't right.
working with each other.
Yeah,
Something isn't right for both of them or one of them or however that turns out. But you gotta say to yourself, I know I say to myself, what we saw, like I said earlier, inside the ring was always something that was developing in the right way. He, like I said,
right.
in that fight against Dennis Baranchek, if you heard the rumbling in the streets, it was Keyshawn he seems like a young Terrence Crawford, like a new. They were comparing him against, quite frankly, the face of boxing, the pound for pound best boxer of this era, right? And Terrence Crawford. That's a lot to say. I mean, even Shakur Stevenson in his own right, who's earned his own respect in the game for being one of the best cerebral minds inside of the ring, wasn't getting future Terrence Crawford accolades, right? Maybe they might have compared him to Floyd Mayweather, but that was just a comparison in the sense of, you know, how defensively responsible he was and things of that nature. But he never really worked with Floyd like that. But being that Keyshawn worked with Bomac and Bomac was Terrence Crawford's trainer, the connection started to make it feel like, okay, he's training and being brought up like Terrence Crawford. That was a good thing. But somewhere in the background, something was happening, and it ended up with Keyshawn thinking the best thing for himself was to go in his own direction. So now he's with this new trainer. He's going to come into the ring and fight against a Jermaine Ortiz, who's bringing in a lot of experience. And that experience counts in the game, right, Ray? Like, experience makes a difference. Although he lost against Vasily Lomachenko, he lost in a controversial loss against Teofimo Lopez. Regardless, those were 12 or 24 very, very valuable rounds for him. That developed him as a fighter. And as we watch in his last couple of fights, the last 3 fights he's had fights where he's on the front foot. He's had fights where he's fought responsibly in box and went the full 10 rounds. Looking at the Teofimo Lopez fight, if Jermaine Ortiz is going to scrutinize himself, what does he scrutinize himself on? Because he doesn't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater, right? Because the whole fight wasn't bad. Like, he arguably won the fight, people felt like. So there was something that he needs to improve on in the fight. But what is it that he improves on? Where is it that he makes the adjustment on? This is another opportunity for him, another big stage against a very big fighter. Jermaine is going to be the more acclimated 140-pound fighter. He's going to be the fighter who's been in the division the longest, right? But he's going in the ring with the Keyshawn Davis, who has and we got to talk about that as well, the difference between camps. Keyshawn, although he may not be active in the ring for the past year, has been active helping Shakur, has been active in other ways. And that team you still develop as a fighter when you're in that type of atmosphere. But what does Jermaine need to do in this fight different than what he's done in the Teofimo fight or in the Vasily Lomachenko fight?
This is just a cautious fight from what I've seen with Keyshawn, but I think he just needs to Jermaine, what I've noticed what he did with Teo, and he needs to continue that, is he made Teo think. When you make the opponent, your opponent think, and they have to wonder why they're in this fight and what they're doing wrong and why you're hitting them, what you're hitting them with, or you're out punching them in their mind, then that's what he has to force Keyshawn into. He has to force Keyshawn into an insecurity moment.
While Ray's figuring that out, I'll read this super chat out. Shout out to Pop Shot Talk 73 with the $10. Shout out for the yellow in the super chat. Says, one thing's for certain, Keyshawn gonna have to show and prove, calling out Devin. Turkey gonna put him under the pressure, fighting tough fights. Bill not gonna let it slide, so we gonna see late 2026. Yeah, without a doubt, man. Without a doubt, Keyshawn's talking big talk right now about what he wants to do at 147. But like I said, Pop Shop, earlier in the conversation, what I stated was he needs to focus on Jermaine, right? Devin is a great fight in the future. There's a lot of great fights at 147 in the future for Keyshawn Davis. But this is a what have you done for me lately type of boxing space, right? This is your last fight is your best fight. That's what we're going to look at you on. So his last fight, he blew it on the scales. He showed a lack of discipline. He blew it in the back with the event in the back rooms, showing a lack of discipline. He's shown that he's mentally still growing. And I want to say that respectfully, right? I'm not going to say he's got mental problems, I don't want to say it that way, but I'm going to say that he's still maturing and mentally growing as a young fighter, as a young adult, as a young father, right? As a young man growing as a breadwinner in his family, as a leader with the DB3. I mean, he's a leader over his older brother in Kelvin, right? And Keon is his younger brother. He's a leader in so many ways, a lot of weight on his shoulders. He's still growing, right? And I would say his fight that he just had, that he just missed out on the De Los Santos fight, was maybe the first time his outside of the ring issues actually really bled into his money, into his inside the ring. Because when Nahir Albright, that was a no contest afterwards. He was still able to walk away from that fight with a victory. This one right here was a big one. This lost money for Top Rank. We're talking about, now I want to put this in the right perspective, Ray, right? Like, this one was on his shoulders, right? Like, this was homecoming, Norfolk, Virginia, right? Mike Vick, Allen Iverson, like Philly's most royalty, the biggest royalty in I'm not Philly, in Virginia. In Virginia, came out to show love to this kid to be next big superstar in boxing. He completely drops the ball in multiple different ways. He just has a crazy week, even with the whole entire confrontation he had with Abdullah Mason at the press conference, which just showed he wasn't focused on the fight that was in front of him with Edwin De Los Santos. He was way too focused on Abdullah Mason and everything going on in the city. He dropped the ball. So this is going to be a big opportunity for Keyshawn. He needs to focus on Jermaine Ortiz and what's in front of him. He can't look past this guy, man. Devin Haney is not the conversation right now for Keyshawn Davis.
Right. And I know I don't know what happened, bro. I just had an interruption, but just to say what I was touching the base on is, and I'll wrap it up quick now because of that situation. Yeah, Jermaine Ortiz just has to lock in, man, and that's it. He just has to lock in and realize what he's in there with and take charge. Like I said, make his opponent think, force him to misunderstand what he came there for, and make it, and why he has to adjust and why Jermaine doesn't. He just has to stay one step ahead of Keyshawn. Bottom line. As far as what you just built on with Keyshawn, and actually I just wanted to actually tap into something too, if you don't mind, Clay, because I was reading this while I was on the what's the name. It said Jermaine Ortiz got on his bike too early. I was average Joe 1058, got on his bike too early. I don't believe that with Teofimo. I think once the headbutt happened, he became very wary, and that was later in the 6th round, I believe, when he started backing up a little bit to protect himself from getting hit in the blind side. He still was outpointing Teo. Every time Teo walked forward, he was hitting him with the jab smoothly as possible. But when it became Teo just failed to cut off the ring, but he knew there was a blind side to that, so he circled the right way. So it looked like he was running because he kept circling. The engagement slowed down. But that's that point. But as far as Keyshawn is, and the concern of that is, yes, all those things play a factor. Is that going to live in the back of Keyshawn's mind when he gets into that ring? Does he believe, and this is what I was saying before, that he has to show the world who he is because of that incident, and that's out the window? Does that become a blockade? Does he not focus on his opponent and he focuses on what the people think? And that seems to be a big credence in the boxing space when you start focusing on what you have to do for everyone else except for yourself and your opponent that's in front of you and worry about them. That becomes a very serious problem. And we've seen this happen with multiple people getting caught up in the limelight of what the fans and the people are saying in the space. So yes, he's been handling well. I think he's very much over it because he's been doing interviews. He doesn't seem to allow this stuff to corral his mind. But at some point, because you're not talking about it, does that mean at the same time that it kind of does? Because maybe before your pre-interviews, when you're talking to people, listen, don't talk about this, don't talk about that, I don't want to talk about this. And they kind of leave those situations alone. And we've seen this happen with interviews before where they stage these things up. So I wonder if this is something that he's taken into consideration, that he doesn't want to talk about the Norfolk situation as much as they want to dial in on it. Now, he has mentioned it, but he doesn't stay on it long, and you see he clearly moves away from it. And
well, that he should to a degree, right? Like, we got to get he needs to get past it. Like, this is something he can't change.
So. He should, right? So but the fans want to know, right? They're going to ask these questions.
The fans want to know, but do they care that much? Like, what is there to say? Because at the end of the day, you don't want to start sounding like you're justifying what happened. You got to take the accountability. You blew the weight. you got into it in the hair Albright. You in the wrong place. You got into it in the hallway with your kids in the hallway. That's not going to be a good look for you. You're either going to be over defending yourself and trying to give stories up, and then you're going to get assassinated in the media space for that, or you're going to defend it and be like, y'all don't know what really happened. They here did this. Edwin De Los Santos did this. Top Rank did that. The guy in the hallway did this to me. I was just an innocent victim. That's not going to go out well either. So at some point or another, somebody like Keyshawn Davis, if there's wise people around him, are going to tell him, hey, bro, whatever that is, let them think what it is. What they're here to see and what will end all of the controversy will be the performance in that ring. So we just got to focus on January 31st. We got to make sure that's where we hit him. We hit him where it counts, and that's where we hit him at, and that's how we get ourselves back into space, right? Let me just shout out Pop Shop Talk with the $2 as my eyeballs see Keyshawn TKOing Ortiz. I see that as a definite possibility for sure, but go ahead, Ray.
Well, so I agree with you, Clay, and that was actually one of my points. But I think with that situation going on, he's not talking so much about that, nor is he talking about anything else that has been a question, so much as even Shakur, because he knows these are distractions. That's why I said I think his mind might be right, but what is he talking about? He's talking about 147. He's talking about just getting this guy up out of there and leaving it alone, and he's talking about other things, which is funny. And I'm laughing. Right? He talks about his mom, his brother, and his sisters in a car accident they went in. So he's bringing everything in, but the things that don't really affect him in his mainstream life, which is cool. But he's not really promoting the boxing point of this. And I think when you got another opponent in front of you, that's kind of disrespectful. And we have to see how Jermaine Ortiz handles this. And a lot of people are going to be sleeping on Jermaine Ortiz. This fight can go either way, just like the Shakur Teofimo fight can go either way. We're putting all our eggs in one basket without realizing what the opponent brings to the table. So before we jump through those loopholes and say, hey, this and that, this guy's been more active. This guy has this going on. This guy has a stoppage his last fight. I did my last fight, but we're focusing on 147 and making moves there after we beat him to go here. Bro, that's a lot. That's a lot to not think about, if you know what I'm saying, Clay. Like, we're not putting the right fortitude in front of us to take those marching steps. We're leaping over the fence instead of climbing the fence one rung at a time, or one lace, we call it whatever in the fence at a time. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's kind of like crazy.
With Keyshawn, it's like, yeah, he's talking about what he wants to do with his future. And I think when he's talking about that, he's responding to the Shakur situation, right? Like, they're asking him about Shakur. They want to know what's going on. You're in the same division. How are you going to continue to get around this? How do you become the best in any division when your brother is in that same division, occupying the space as the best? At some point or another, there's going to be a conflict of interest. And he's responding to it seems to me, with, well, the truth of the situation is I'm going to 147. So he's going to make a big move to get out the way of Shakur, and also to make it to where Shakur doesn't have to do nothing crazy to get out of his way, right? So, okay, you're going to be at 140, 135, going back and forth, fighting the best fight you can put together to get to your money. I'm going to find my opportunity at 147, not coincidentally, an up-and-coming division right now, right? With all kinds of opponents for him to fight. I seen somebody in the chat say earlier, who would he fight 147? I mean, there's a long list. I think there's more people for him to fight 147 than 135. And 140, there's some fighters there, but he's got his hands full at 147. We got to see how he even acclimates to the weight at 140. But once he gets up there, the Tiger Johnsons, the Rohan Polancos, the Raul Coriels, you know what I'm saying? There's a plenty of big fights for him to make up there. And Devin Haney, of course, and Ryan Garcia and Conor Ben, those guys as well. Those are big fights for him to make, but you got to get through Jermaine first. So, like I stated a little bit earlier about him and Jamal, the difference between them is maybe Keyshawn's not so derailed outside the ring, and he's more active, but it seems like inside the ring, once they get in the ring, it's business as usual. It seems like they're disciplined, they're fighting their fights. Maybe Keyshawn is able to deliver the same type of consistency in his career inside the ring, and whatever's happening outside the ring can become something that he's working on there. Right? Maybe that's what it comes into play. And with Jermaine, like you stated earlier, those adjustments, man. you said something earlier that I thought was right on point, bro. When you said that he has to fight Keyshawn Davis, he has to box Keyshawn Davis. Basically, sound like you were saying he needs to box him. He needs to mix it up right. He needs to balance it. You need to box him and fight him. And I agree with that. I think that's what this is all about. I think the fighter who was in the ring with Lomachenko and the boxer who was in the ring with Teofimo need to find a way to coexist. And both those guys, I think, the best version, because I think he showed great boxing skills against Teofimo Lopez, and I think he showed fight in the Lomachenko fight. He knew he had to fight. If you mix that up and you're fighting Keyshawn when he's boxing, and you're boxing Keyshawn when he's fighting, and you're able to establish and control that distance and keep that lead hand really active, setting everything up, then you can give Keyshawn Davis, you can challenge Keyshawn Davis's mental grit, because he hasn't really had to be mentally dialed in like that. He's been challenged physically when he was fighting against Miguel Madueno. That was a physical challenge for him, where he had to be like, damn, this dude's really trying to wrestle me. He's low-key kind of stronger than me, like lifting me off the ground, pushing me all around. So he had to sit in there and wrestle with him. He had to tussle with him. But mentally, he ain't been in there with a Vasily Lomachenko. He ain't been in there with a Teofimo Lopez. The closest he's been in there with was a Nahir Albright. And Nahir, you know what I mean? One judge found it a draw, 95-95. Nahir ain't Teofimo, and Nahir ain't Lomachenko, right? So this is going to be that opportunity. This is, I think, going to be what I wanted to see in the Dennis Berinchyk fight. I just think Dennis Berinchyk wasn't able to deliver that look because he just wasn't competitive enough to compete with Keyshawn Davis, right? So he got out of that fight, handled him, and we didn't even see him tested. This right here, Jermaine Ortiz, is going to be physically there. I think his punch resistance is there. I think his IQ is there. Is that discipline there? Probably. They call him the tactician for a reason. This might be the one right here. If Keyshawn doesn't do the right thing and have his head in the right space, he can get derailed in this fight, right? Am I
You're
tripping?
not crazy. You're not crazy. And I'm laughing because somebody, I think it was Mr. Lightning, just dropped a nice comment for you. You want to pull that up? Keyshawn is going to let loose on this dude. It will be someone from a highlight. From his highest level.
It will take someone from the highest levels to give him a tough time.
Yeah. I don't listen, man. We cannot slip. Like I said, I don't think Jermaine wants to be that gatekeeper, bro. I don't think he wants that title. I think he knows he's significant enough. I think he believes he's championship worthy. And once he digs down and starts feeling that in his soul, you know, when you get that pit in your stomach and it gets warm and you know you're doing something right and it's just growing, like a teacher tells you you're doing great, you might make the honor roll and you start getting warm and just start spreading almost like the Grinch when his heart opened up. You know what I mean? When he starts realizing like that championship thing is right there around the corner for him, he has that opportunity. He may step on the gas and be a different Jermaine Ortiz, the Jermaine Ortiz that was before Lomachenko, the Jermaine Ortiz that was fighting Teofimo, and fought these guys to their best competition that we know and up to date. That's what we have to see. Now, Keyshawn, on the other hand, is a great fighter. He has many levels. How do you disrupt those levels? I think is by being one step ahead, seeing his flaws, seeing his weaknesses. Maybe you do have to rough him up a little bit to get him off his game. And once you rough him up, you kind of move around a little bit. We'll have to wait and see. But it's just a matter of time to see how this goes, Clay. I think it's I don't think it's 50-50, but it's damn near close. And a lot of people
I think as time goes by, it becomes closer. I think right now it may even be like a 68, whatever the change is, right? 70-30, 68, what is that? 37 or something. Something like that. I don't know. So, something like that, whatever that number adds up to for it to get to 100. Shout out to Tall God Hero 7397. I like what he just said right here, man. And I think this is what Jermaine Ortiz is battling against, right? And this is a fair scrutiny or assessment of Jermaine Ortiz and what's gotten in his way at this point. And at some point or another, you got to put it on the line. At this point in Jermaine Ortiz's career, having those two big opportunities, one against Loma, against Teofimo, this may be his last go at it at 140. Probably is his last go at 147. At 140. After this one, he probably just needs to go to 147. He's cutting the weight, and if you can't, you're not going to get another opportunity at 140. There's an argument there to say that you're lucky you got this opportunity, right? So he says when Jermaine Ortiz fights at the top level, he does not, and he capitalizes these words. And shout out to Tall God Hero. I completely feeling your energy, man, because not only is it true, but there's a little frustration in there because he does so well in the fight. He seems to lose it in the small, intangible spaces he loses in these fights, right? He says when Jermaine Ortiz fights at the top level, he does not fight to win. He fights not to lose. Fights to not get KO'd. Easy, low action fight for Keyshawn Davis. And I think that's what it's going to be with Jermaine on this one. Are you going to fight to win? In other words, are you going to risk it? Because fighting to win with Keyshawn, you might get that. Also means you're risking getting knocked out because you're talking about engaging a lot more. And Keyshawn is an explosive fighter, right? But at what point, where you sit on it, Ray? Like, is that
exactly no? He hit it right on the head. I think like you can't do no wrong with that, right? We have to accept that for what it is. What he said is 100% key, 100% key. I think Jermaine has to bring those things to fruition.
Keon, you got a minute? You want me to send you the link to come up here? I definitely want to hear your perspective. Or are you I know how it'd be for you, but if you let me know, I'll send it out there for you real quick.
Yeah, and just in all due respect, you know what I mean? Like, we're not sleeping on Keyshawn and what he can do. We're building the fight on what happens on the other end because people
don't think he's saying we're sleeping. I know
what he's saying. I'm saying like we're anybody that's talking about like the other side. I'm not saying it's directly towards us. I think that Keyshawn has he said shoot him the link. I think Keyshawn has a legitimate chance of stopping this dude, Jermaine Ortiz. I just think at the same time, we don't want to overlook it because you don't want to get caught by surprise. And we know Jermaine Ortiz is a really good fighter. We know he is where he is for a reason. He just hasn't gotten that one, the right key on The Price is Right to open the car door. You know what I mean? He picks the keys. He just can't open the door. You remember that game? You know what I mean?
No, I agree with you. I think
that's what it is.
I think at the end of the day, the thing about it is speaking to the elephant in the room is not necessarily doubting him. I'm going to say it like this. I know what he can do. It's always about what is he going to do, right?
Or what he will do.
Right. More so. Will do, right? Will do, going to do, whatever have you. That's what it's about. I'm pretty sure Keyshawn's going to be disciplined in this fight, right? But I do feel like Jermaine Ortiz is going to be the first. Mm-hmm. I think this 13 professional fights, Ray. 13. That's not a lot. Outside of him becoming a champion in his fight against Dennis Berinchyk, which a lot of people feels like that was a circumstantial
situation, right?
Timing situation, right? Like great timing to have a small fighter like Dennis Berinchyk to win a vacant title against Emmanuel Navarrete, who came up from 130 to 135. Right. And you fight this guy and he's an Olympian without a doubt. He had a lot of movement. I thought it would have been a more competitive fight. So I'm not trying to take away from that win, but I'm just going to say, listen, man, if we're going to talk to that elephant in the room, the reality is this fight against Jermaine Ortiz, he's going to be naturally a bigger fighter. He has a lot more experience than you on his resume. He's not undefeated like you, but those 24 rounds with those two champions, lineal champions, are valuable. Do you have that? And what does that look like? And Jermaine needs to capitalize on that. He needs to work behind that jab. He needs to try his best to put Keyshawn Davis in a situation he's never been in before. You know what I mean? Not steamrolling Keyshawn, but you need to challenge him and you need to press him, but at the same time, allow him to do what he does. Don't compete with him in what he does and be the counterpuncher when you need to be the counterpuncher, but at times also be on that front foot and be the one to let that shot off first. Set him up behind that jab and make him pay. You know what I'm saying? And all those things. That makes the fight very interesting. Shout out my brother Keon in the building. What's good, TB?
Yo, what's good? What's good?
Peace
up. Good morning to you, brother.
Happy New Year, brother.
Happy New Year to y'all, man. Man,
2026.
Man, I don't know. I just think a lot of people I don't know. Not necessarily y'all. I think that a lot of people sleeping on Keyshawn, man. I don't think that they believe that he is as good as he really is. And man, I can see it. Like I saw Keyshawn from the time he was in the amateur, from the time that he first turned pro, when he was with Eddie Hearn, and then when he got with Terrence Crawford and that team, man, he went to a whole different level, man. I think that just took him to a whole different level, his fight game. And as far as Jermaine Ortiz is a real good fighter for sure. I think he beat T.O. I don't think the fight was that close. I think he clearly beat T.O. But the thing, and I think that it could have went either way with Jermaine Ortiz and Lomachenko. That's how close that fight. Like if they had a call it a draw, I don't think nobody could have had a problem with it, right? If they had to get edged out to Ortiz, or that was a fight that could have went either way. But as far as like at this time, right? We're not talking about Lomachenko in his prime, because at 130 and 126, because Jermaine Ortiz didn't fight that Lomachenko, right? Mm-hmm. At this time, I don't think Jermaine Ortiz ever been in the ring with somebody that's like, yeah, he got experience, but he ain't never been in the ring with nobody like Keyshawn. Teofimo ain't like that. As far as on Keyshawn's level, I don't think that. I think that Teofimo, it's a reason why Teofimo was adamant about not wanting to fight Keyshawn. It's a reason. And he knows. These people behind the scenes that's, in these camps, they know. And I think that everybody going to find out January 30th, because, Keyshawn, a lot of people want to talk about like the shit that happened. We got to let that go. He was young, young people get into shit. You can't dwell on it or harp on it for the rest of his career. We've seen that he didn't let it go. We got to let it go and move forward. And I think that's what he's done. And in the ring that night, man, I think Jermaine Ortiz going to find out like, man, this dude is different. Now, I don't know if he going to, it's levels. In order for Jermaine Ortiz to have success, he's not going to be able to fight Keyshawn the way that he fought Lomachenko, because it's not going to work with Keyshawn. You know what I'm saying? And I mean, not Lomachenko, Teofimo, the way that he fought Teofimo, that's not going to work with Keyshawn. So that'll maybe work with getting him all through 12 rounds where he don't get stopped, but he can't beat Keyshawn like that, because he's not going to frustrate Keyshawn like he did Teofimo Lopez. Teofimo was getting wild, swinging at the air, throwing haymakers, getting frustrated, couldn't cut off the ring. That's not going to work against somebody like Keyshawn, right? That we see stay patient in the ring. He can fight on the outside. He can fight on the inside. He catches and shoots very well. Like, he do a lot of things in the ring that I don't think people give him credit for, because, a lot of people don't like him. They look over him because of what camp he with and all of that shit, right? That all comes with it. But on fight night, man, I just think that Keyshawn going to take it to another level. I think that, and he's going to show that he's levels above Jermaine Ortiz. And I don't know, man. I don't know if he's going to stop him, because Jermaine Ortiz, he know how to survive, right? He know how to survive. He know how to use his footwork to, get through all 12 rounds. But if Jermaine Ortiz go in there and try to do what he say he's going to do, because he's talking about this knockout shit, and he know that he can't, fight on the outside and move around and get a victory like that, because he don't trust the judges. If he go in there and he try to fight Keyshawn, he going to get beat the fuck up. He going to get beat the hell up, my bad. He going to get beat up.
Okay.
Let me ask you a question.
He's going to get stopped.
The word momentum, right? When we're talking about somebody, and I think this is, I want take this for whatever it is, but when we talk about momentum, we talk about Keyshawn Davis in the year he had in 2024, right? And then going into starting off 2025, getting that title against Dennis Berinchyk. Do you think that situation with the Edwin De Los Santos blowing the weight on the scale, having that that altercation in the backstage, top rank in him? I don't know where they're at in their relationship and what ultimately ended up happening there, but did his momentum, do you think, get thrown off a little bit? And can that throw off what he does in this fight? Keeping in mind, of course, he's not even with Bomac anymore. So is this recalibrated? Does Keyshawn have to readjust, reacclimate himself into the space, not to mention in a bigger weight class against a bigger fighter who's not trying to weight bully him, but actually going to be boxing him? Did that get derailed a little bit? Are we going to have to watch Keyshawn figure that out in the first 2 to 3 rounds in this fight before we even see a glimpse of who he was before that altercation, in your opinion?
I think it. I don't think it stopped his momentum. I think it helped his momentum. I think it put his momentum back on track to where it should be, because we all seen it, man. He was smelling himself too much.
Right.
He's smelling himself too much. And imagine if he did get to say that De Los Santos fight went through and he got the stoppage. It would have got worse. It would have got worse. We've all seen where a fighter's on that, that hype to where they ain't got to where they need to be, but then they start smelling themselves too much and everything started going bad. I think that's where it was going to go with Keyshawn if that had it never happened. God make things happen for a reason, and I think that what all that stuff that Keyshawn went through, it happened for a reason, because I mean he was getting out every interview. We could see it, man. He was smelling himself too much, and now I think it brought him back down to earth and gave him the ability to see the light and focus on what the main, goal is at the end of the finish line. And then I think, just put him back on track.
What do you think about the Bomac situation, though?
Man, to me, that's a tough situation, because it's like I saw the improvement that, the leaps and bounds that he grew when he did join that camp, because like when you look at Keyshawn coming out the Olympics, he still kind of had that Olympic style. He wasn't that impressive when he was with DAZN. His first, I think he had his first 3 fights, and then he went back to the Olympics.
Right.
Yeah, he like to me, early on in his career, it was like, okay, he gonna be cool, but he ain't he wasn't looking like no Abdullah Mason coming out the gate. You see what I'm saying? He wasn't just somebody that was and then once he kind of got with Bomac a little later on and really kind of got acclimated to that camp and started working with Bud and that whole camp, he went to a whole nother level. And I started seeing a lot of Bud in him. You know what I'm saying? To me, he was the closest young fighter that was to Bud Crawford. It was a lot of similarities. And then, so that to me, him being in that camp took him to a whole nother level. So me saying that, oh yeah, it was a good thing that he left, I can't say that. But I don't know the situation, because, they all being professional, they all kind of not speaking on it. Ain't nobody speak. They just moved on. So we don't really know the situation. I don't know what was going on. I don't know. I guess that is one question mark that we have to see when he gets in the ring. We got
to see what that translates into the
yeah,
ring
exactly.
Well, right?
Yeah. That's what I meant. That's we got to see what that translates to when he gets in the ring. So I guess that's a big question. That everybody's gonna have. What is he gonna look like now that he left? And he's with a different training camp, like you were saying earlier in the show, Clay. And I don't know. That's a good question.
Yeah, salute to everybody in the building. Hey, yo, we got 60-something people in the building. I don't know what the number is, but guys, take a moment, smash that like button. Let's help the channel be where it needs to be. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, take a moment to go ahead and do that too. Shout out to everybody on Twitter, on Facebook, if that's where you're seeing us from right now. Follow, obviously, there, but if you can make your way over to the YouTube channel, subscribe there. That helps too, and hit the like button as well. I'm gonna bring on another panelist here. We got Pop Shop Talk in the building. Pop Shop, my guy, man. What's good with you, family? See you in the house.
Good. Yeah, man. Long time, but I've been listening in,
Yeah, for sure, man. We got a great 2026 in front of us, man. 2025 ended off the way it did. A lot of momentum going into this year. The big card is Teofimo and Shakur Stevenson. We're talking about Keyshawn Davis right now and Jermaine Ortiz. And Keon made some great points. He happens to believe that the momentum that this helped Keyshawn, that Keyshawn was on a bad path, that he was pushing himself in the wrong direction. He was, as Keon said, smelling himself a little too much, and that might have been the actual attitude adjustment he might need to compete at this high level, because this is a high level. He hasn't really had to do this yet, and I don't know if anybody's taking that into consideration, or maybe I'm over-exaggerating it, but this seems to be, in my opinion, his first real signature fight. I mean, he's going to have a common opponent here with Teofimo Lopez, right? He's going to have a common opponent now with Lomachenko. He's going to have a Jermaine Ortiz who's had 24 great rounds with these people, arguably beat these guys. I mean, I think the Jermaine Ortiz fight is, people are saying he got robbed in that fight. I thought he won that fight. And, Keon believes that with the Lomachenko fight, which I agree. I think it was a competitive fight. I felt like I gave Lomachenko the win at the end of that fight, but regardless, Jermaine boxed wonderfully. To compete with those kind of fighters is a testament within itself. Now he gets a third opportunity to do something to what people are calling the future Terrence Crawford, like Keon said as well. People were giving this kid the highest accolades. He blew it up in Norfolk, Virginia, and messed that all up. But does that change a lot in this situation? And do you think that this fight is a fight that he can really get derailed on with Jermaine Ortiz?
Well, I can agree on a lot of the points that he spoke on. I do feel like it's a good move for him. At the same time, we've been watching Bud for a lot of his career. We've been, watching Bomac and how he interacts with Terrence. So we know a lot of bravado goes on with that. Keyshawn is a high-string personality, high-character guy. So a lot of things can be said within those, in those sparring sessions and all of that. So something could have got turned sour. Some things kind of got, said and taken personally. And, he probably, it's best that I go in another direction, because, this fight doesn't seem like it's a setback. What he did and what he claimed Bomac was, allegedly telling him to do, that's, here nor there, because it's just out there. I just feel like, him moving on, doing what he's going to do is basically going to be good for his career, but he's definitely going to be tested with better fights. I don't really feel like this fight is a tough fight. I'm not, no slight to Ortiz, because when you look at the common opponent, Tio was afraid of getting in the ring with Keyshawn. That's the only way that I can see it, because the guy had all the opportunity to get in the ring. Turkey got involved. He had Keyshawn right there on video. He wouldn't get in the ring with him. So if you got a common opponent, and I think that Keyshawn is more of a pressure fighter. He's a puncher. He doesn't have overwhelming power, but if he hurts you, he can get rid of you. And I think that's what's going to happen when he gets in the ring with Ortiz. He doesn't want to be the gatekeeper, but it is what it is. Sometimes the fighter is the last one to know. You know what I'm saying? But it's good for the boxing fans. I think it's going to be a good fight in the beginning, but I do think that Keyshawn will overwhelm him and take him in the later rounds and move on and go forward. And he's just going to have to keep going, a step further with his career.
Question for both you and Keon. Here's a statement, and tell me what you think of this statement. Jermaine, where is it? I kind of want to pull it up, but I don't want to go looking for it. Let me see if I can find it. I don't want to pull it up, man. I can't find it. I don't want to waste time sitting here trying to find it. But Jermaine Ortiz doesn't fight to win. He fights to survive. He doesn't go for the win. What does that statement mean to you guys? Is that a relevant statement when we're talking about Jermaine Ortiz, or are we misreading him?
I don't know. I think we misreading him, because when you in the ring with the top level competition, sometimes it's that close. Look at Lamont Roach. People are like, he don't know how to win. No, it's just, it goes that way sometimes, And then if you don't have a huge name, like you fighting against the Lomachenkos, the Teofimo Lopez's, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're not going to give you a win over them type of dudes. So when we say fight to win, what do you mean? Knock them out?
Well,
some of them fights are going to be close on the scorecards.
People feel like in those last 3 rounds, they'd like to see Jermaine
Go for it.
Really go for those rounds. Like not knock them out, but like win the lion's share of those last 3 rounds. It seems like
turn it
kind
up.
of coasts a little bit in those last rounds.
Maybe we could say that with the Lomachenko fight, you know what I'm saying? He could have stepped on the gas because, you know, people think like he kind of let that go in those last rounds, right? Mm-hmm. But the Teofimo fight, man, I think he just clearly won that fight. Like, to me, that fight wasn't that close.
Look at Terrence Crawford and Canelo, right? Terrence Crawford fought Canelo, and in those last couple of rounds, even though I believe all of us on this panel saw Terrence Crawford comfortably winning against that Canelo fight, but what did Bomac said? You know they're going to try to take it from you, champ. You know they're not going to give it to you. You got to take these last 3 rounds. And you saw Terrence take those last 3 rounds, and you saw how the scorecards ended up at the end of that fight. Those scorecards would have had you believe that fight was a lot closer than it really was. At some point or another, if you're Jermaine Ortiz and you have that experience of what happened between you and Lomachenko, you have that experience of what happened with you and Teofimo Lopez, do you make the adjustment? Do you go for it in those last
You know what that is? You know what that is, Clay? That's your team. That was pressing that shit into Terrence Crawford the whole camp.
Right.
Don't let them take it away from you because we know the history behind Canelo Alvarez, right? Mm-hmm. He's known to get close fights. Like, if you fight Canelo in the fight club, they're not giving it to you. So there was pressing that in him because of who Canelo was throughout the whole camp. You know what I'm saying? So that was already something that was programmed in his brain. He already knew. He already had seen that fight play out. He knew exactly how he was coming, you know what I'm saying, those last rounds. So, I mean, I think that was a team and, like, who Canelo was, that being pressed in him. Now, as far as Jermaine Ortiz, you know, maybe he has that mindset now. You know what I'm saying? Maybe he has that mindset now after going through, you know, experiences to where people, you know, especially in the Teofimo Lopez, but like I said, he clearly won the fight and then he didn't get it. And after going through that, maybe he has that now. We just got to see, you know. Sometimes fighters got to go through things to get them to that other, you know, level. So we'll see. But like I said, I don't think this is going to be one of the fights he want to try that in.
I mean, at this point in the game, I don't know. I hear where you're coming from, but at the same time, I'm wondering, does it matter at this point? Like, at this point, are you tired enough with these close fights you're losing to say, F it, round 9, 10, or 10, 11, and 12? I'm going to look a certain way. I'm going to look to dominate in this fight and not just win, not just edge out something. I'm going to look to dominate. Pop Shot, what you think about that statement?
Well, I go back to as far as you know, Sugar Ray and Marvin Hagler. You know, when you it's an old adage, you know, in boxing. You got to take it from the champ. You know what I'm saying? You can't go in there and think you're going to finesse the championship rounds and you're going to get, you know, you're going to get the nod, you know? I mean, unless you just like do what Floyd did against Gotti, like just totally beat him up, like leave no doubt. You know what I'm saying? It was over before the championship rounds and everybody saw that. But if those middle rounds, beginning of middle rounds is like, okay, well, yeah, it looks like you could have took, you know, a couple of rounds within 1 through 7. And, you know, maybe he got a couple of rounds, you know, 8 and 9. And then 10, 11, you feel like you're just going to like just touch him up a little bit, box him up a little bit, hit, not get hit. Nah, that's not going to work with the champion. You got to get down, get dirty. You got to go in like Sugar Ray did from the get-go. You know what I'm saying? He went in there. When he hit him, we all know Sugar Ray hit hard when he get hit. You know what I'm saying? So when he went in, he taxed him. Right. You know, and that's what I think what you know has to happen when you talk about Ortiz getting in the ring, possibly winning a fight against Teo, because Teo is even though he's a little off sometimes, he does have a lot of fans out there, and even with Shakur fighting in New York, he can't think he's gonna just dance around the ring and Pop shot him here and there. He got to go in there and he got to go get him, because if Teo, you know, show a little bit of that Rocky in him, he might fall to that New York curse and he might come out there with an L.
Can I ask you guys something? And Ray, I'm gonna get you in this one too. The reason I involve you because we already talked about this already. You already spoke on it. But is there an art to? Is there a science to convincing judges you won a round? Like, going into a round, right? As you're fighting the round, right? There's one thing to be like, let's say Gervonta Tank Davis, who doesn't seem to be concerned about how he looks at the end of a round. He's concerned about setting you up for that kill shot. So you can look however you're looking against him as you're fighting him, but he doesn't care because he doesn't plan on the judges being involved. He tells the judges, get some popcorn, enjoy the show. We're not going to need you tonight. Y'all sit on the side. But when certain fighters like a Shakur Stevenson or Jermaine Ortiz or a Devin Haney or, any of these fighters who for the most lion's share of the time go the distance and they end up in front of the judges, is there a science to that? And what does that look like in your opinion? If there is a science to that, what does it look like to win a round in front of a judge?
You want to go with that, Ray?
No, y'all go ahead first. I'll tap in.
Well, to me, I think there is a science, but you have to be supremely confident in your abilities because, like what happened with Roach, it hurt Gervonta by going with that strategy. I think like what when you start talking about winning a round, it's got to be clear punches. Like a lot of fighters like to wait to that last 10 seconds and they try to steal a round. Now, unless you've been caught clear early in the round and it's an impression left in the judge's head, you can't wait to them 10 seconds. You got to get at least one or two good shots in there and then get one at the 10 second. But if you wait the whole round, you done got touched up and you try to wait for that 10 seconds to get that good punch and you don't get it, you lost that round. Based off one clear punch. And that's sometimes, even though you might get a good body punch, but if the judges see that good punch go to the dome or it flicks your head back or turns your head, they're going to remember that versus that body punch, even though it's a clear shot, because it's visual is what they're going to see. And with the fans who are uneducated eye, they're not going to, look at the body shot. We might see them sneak that body shot in there, when they in close, doing that work, getting that point. That's that Olympic style shit that they might see. But when it comes to the professionals, they sometimes take a chance. Sugar Ray was good at that again. The last 10 seconds, he go in there with that showboating, that shoe shining. And if it looks like he touched them up, that'll win him the round. And it is a science too, I do, in my opinion.
Keon, man, how do you win it, man? You got 3 minutes each round to convince a judge that you won the round. If you don't get the stoppage, are you concerned with what the judges are looking at, and what are you doing? What is a good fighter's, in your mindset's mentality on winning a round?
I think you got two different type of fighters. You got the fighters that throw a lot of value, and the judges love that shit. You know what I'm saying? We like, if we sitting there watching it, with the volume down, and we can see like, okay, these punches ain't even landing, but the judges like that shit because I don't know, they just like that volume where it looks like that they putting pressure on you, they throwing a whole bunch of punches. That wins rounds because the fans, they don't know if the shots is landing, they and eyeing, and then, that intimidates the judges, and the judges gonna give that to a fighter, a lot of times. But then when you talk about a fighter like Shakur Stevenson, that you say, okay, go the distance a lot, right? He's mastered that distance to where he can get his shots off clean, right? Mm-hmm. So it's not hard to see when he landing his shots because he's not doing like no disrespect. And this is my guy. But he's not doing like, say, like a Brian Norman to where you see him smothering his shots, right? And you can't even tell, like, did he land it or is he, but like somebody like a Shakur, like they're landing it clean. Teofimo Lopez, like, right? You can see when they're landing their shots clean. So they can get the decision over a pressure fighter because they can make you miss to where you can see that shit clear. And then they know how to control that range and distance to where they're getting their shit off clean, to where it's not where you have to kind of wonder, like, did they land the shot? Well, I don't know. We just going to give it to the other fighter because of the value. You can't win those type of fights against them. right? Because they make it clear. But so it's two different type of fighters. I mean, you either gonna be a pressure fighter, and if you're a pressure fighter, just to throw a whole lot of punches, right? To sway the judges, make it rough, like a pit bull dude does,
Real.
or yeah. And like I said, if you're a pure boxer, you need to learn how to master that distance to where when you throw, you could be sharp and you getting your shit all clean to where the judges don't have to question if you landed a clean shot or not. So it's two different type of fighters. But like my man was saying, like, yeah, I think that last like 20 seconds, you got to put on. You know what I'm saying? Even if the whole round was boring, that last 20 seconds you got to put on. And like my man said, Sugar Ray used to do that shit all the time. He knew. He was watching that clock. And when that time came, he going to put on because it's the last impression that is the biggest impression, right? Even especially in a close round, you always want to make sure you get that last impression to sway the judges.
To Dimitri Bivol and Artur Beterbiev, I think that was a master class on winning rounds, the way Dimitri handled that with Beterbiev, and I want Ray to go ahead and move on from here. But Ray, let's talk about that clock, man, that 3 minutes, Keon is talking about something that makes a lot of sense. That last 20 seconds, Pop Shot talk about that last 10 seconds or so. So that clock management, right? That's part of it when we're talking about what the judges see, leaving that impression on the judges before they put that point down and say 10 to you, 9 to them, or vice versa. How do you manage that clock if you're trying to win rounds? Because it seems like that's what Jermaine might need some classes in a little bit.
I think that if I'm in the fighter's corner, the first thing I want to do is I want to tell my fighter, one, know what you're up against. Read what they do well. Try to stay out of those obstacles. You know what I mean? Overcome that situation. So when you're in that situation of fighting somebody that is powerful and they're coming with a lot of punches, okay, stay at the end of your jab. Use those situations correctly. Use your footwork. Look pretty while doing it, and then steal the show. Yes, every single time you got to steal the show at the end of every single round. Unbelievably factors. That's 100%. Another thing is control. A lot of people don't realize how much control does. Yes, when somebody grapples you or anything of that nature, they try to tie you up. Allow that to happen, and then get the control of the fight. Show the judges that you are controlling this fight. You are leading this fight. You're the reason why that person is coming forward, or you're the reason why that fighter is going backwards. You have to show and display that to the judges. Those judges see that as a key factor to you winning rounds. And I have no contention to what they just said. Every single thing happens at the end of the rounds. I believe it also starts in the beginning of the round. When you step toe-to-toe with that guy and that referee brings you to the center of the ring at each and every round, you need to make sure that opponent knows you're still there. You need to let that opponent know that you're still into this fight, and you need to discourage their characteristics. When a judge sees that fighter doesn't want to be there on the other end, or that fighter's having a tough time, or he's overthinking, they pull that plug and they start checking boxes for you. So you need to do all those things. All those things tied together will make you successful in those fights. And like I said, knowing what your strategies are and living by them, and definitely knowing what your opponent's strengths and weaknesses are. That's key. And then last but not least, the run off the clock, man. You got to beat them up at the end of the clock. You can't be running around dancing, like putting your hands up, thinking that you got it already, because they see that. Ask Oscar De La Hoya against Trinidad. A lot of people thought, you know what I mean? Thought he had it, but what'd he do? Thought he had it, put his hands up, stayed away, non-engaging, and those things hurt him. So, yes, those are all true things there.
I think there's a relationship, though. I always say this, right? I've said this isn't going to be the last time I say this. It definitely ain't the first time, but I always will say this because I see this as something consistent in boxing, which is the judges have relationships with the fighters, right? And what I mean by that is not that they're out having happy hour together and eating lunch and they're at family gatherings. No, I mean the judges know these fighters and they know what they look like, or they have an idea of what they look like when they're winning and what it looks like when they're losing. And I think there might be advantage for a fighter to take that into consideration. When you look at the Alberto Puello Subriel Matias fight, right? Subriel Matias convinced the judges by the look of how he performed that he won. Now, I don't know how you guys felt about that fight at the end of it, but I know when I called the fight, the room was split, right? Most people felt like Alberto Puello won it, but there were a lot of people who were like, yo, Alberto Puello was on his back foot against the ropes way too much on that fight. He was getting pinned down by Subriel Matias way too much. Although he's hitting him with some clean shots, a lot of clean shots, probably the lion's share of the clean shots. The judges gave it to Subriel Matias, and boom, we have a crowned new WBC champion. I think the management, the clock management is going to play a big role in this Jermaine Ortiz Keyshawn Davis fight. And I also believe that Keyshawn's going to have to look like Keyshawn. What does Jermaine Ortiz look like when he's winning a fight? 1 second. That's the question I have for the panel, because I want to know what that looks like and if that's what we're looking to see in the fight against Keyshawn. Adel Choi, shout out to my brother, man. Well, assalamu alaikum to my Aki in the building. Says Bill Haney was working with Ortiz. Don't be surprised if we see some Devin Haney moves in there. Listen, Bill Haney and Devin Haney, one thing they know, if they don't know nothing, is they know how to win a damn round. Right? They understand that, Devin has built a relationship going into that, what I just said. He's built a relationship with these judges where they know what it looks like when he's winning. So as long as he's looking like himself, like that Jose Ramirez fight, is people want to say he's born hot, whatever it was, those judges understood Devin's winning. They understood what that looked like. People who did, Devin's winning this fight. When he fought against Brian Norman, he delivered on his promise. If you violate, I'm going to demonstrate. He did that. He put him on his pockets. But right after that, he got right back to Devin Haney. And they saw it and they said, Devin's winning this fight. And they looked more importantly at Brian Norman and said, Brian Norman ain't winning this fight. Because that's not what he looks like when he's winning a fight. He doesn't look like that, right? This is what, and we'll segue into this a little later as far as the Subriel Matias Dalton Smith fight that's coming up, as far as what Dalton needs to do in that fight. But how do you guys feel about that? And also, what do you guys think about what Adel said here about Bill Haney being involved in the camp? Do you think that's going to help Jermaine Ortiz at all in this fight? Do you think that's going to be part of the winning formula? And does that potentially give Keyshawn Davis issues?
No, I'm gonna get out of here real quick. I had to go to do my job. But
Okay.
Listen, it could, anything's possible. But a trainer doesn't make the fighter the fight. You know what I mean? Fight the fight. And even if you're working with him and this is not your main trainer and you're picking up tidbits and stuff like that, what have you seen Bill Haney, and this is no disrespect to Devin's camp or anyone like that, but what have you seen them do with a fighter like Keyshawn? You've never seen him in the ring with Keyshawn. You've never seen him, have a fight against him. You know what I mean? So for them to try to use that to say, okay, this is what this is as grace, how you're going to win this fight is by doing this. They don't have that opponent in front of them ever to say that that's the way they have to win. Now, I will tell you this. They could put a game plan together and saying, if you follow a game plan, I've seen his weaknesses, in this fight. I've seen this in this fight. This is how we would attack him. You should try this. That's different. They can give him that advice and they can go for that. And I best believe that's probably the only thing they could take away from that. But strategy-wise and what they train for is going to be hard when you don't have that fighter experience in front of you to live by.
That's interesting. Keon, I heard before you go, Pop, so I heard Keon say something, man. He said, there you go. What are you talking about, Keon? What he say, man? I had you say that.
Yeah, no, I was just saying, like, with the whole Devin and Bill thing, like, how does that matter? Devin ain't never fought nobody like that. That's Devin had never, just like Ray was saying, Devin ain't never had that type of opponent in front of him. So I don't think that matters. But as far as the Subriel Matias, like a point that you made earlier with Subriel Matias, why he got why the judges gave him that nod. But it was kind of like what I was saying earlier, right? It was the pressure and making it look like, the pressure and throwing a whole bunch of punches. I thought that Alberto Puello won that fight. But the judges gave it to Subriel Matias because of the pressure that he was putting on, and he was making it look like, right? With all the punches that he was throwing and the pressure that he was applying, he was making it look like he was winning. Which, to the real boxing heads, we seen that, Alberto Puello was landing the cleaner shots, countering him, and so.
Yeah, man. The looks. Like I said, I mean, I don't know how you feel about it, but just I believe, and I'm assuming judges aren't allowed to think this way publicly, but I believe the judges have a relationship with these fighters, just like we do, right? We watching fights, the judges watching fights, and we know what it looks like when our fighter's winning and when he's losing. If he's fighting his fight, he's winning. If he's not fighting his fight, we're going to assume it's because the opponent is giving him issues and he can't fight his fight. Now, when you get brand new, we don't even know how to read you if all of a sudden you're being brand new. So we gotta read it real. We gotta really be meticulous with the way we look at it and take away the points. But if you're looking the way you're supposed to be looking, it's easier for us to kind of read it. And before I move on to Pop Shot, I'm gonna ask Keon, what does Jermaine, if you know, I don't know, what does Jermaine Ortiz look like when he's winning? I mean, listen, the man only has like 2 defeats, right? So he's a winning fighter. So in the fights where he's winning, what does he look like to you?
Kind of similar to like a Richardson Hitchens when he's, kind of like dominating on the outside with the jab, being real sharp, making the opponent miss and pay. I think that's what Jermaine Ortiz has to look like. Like that's his winning, right? Mm-hmm. Just sharp on the outside with the jab, making you miss and making you pay. Good footwork, angles, things like that. Yeah, I mean, if we can say that he has a look, that's what it would have to look like.
Is he first or last, in your opinion, when it comes to the exchanges? With
him, I think he have to be first.
I like it. Pop Shop, I'll send it right back at you. 2 questions. Number 1, what does it look like, right? What does it look like when Jermaine Ortiz is winning the fight? I can't remember what the first part of the question was. Oh yeah, and Bill Haney and Devin and Bill Haney being involved with the Ortiz camp. What do you think if that's the case? I don't even know. Is that confirmed right now? Is that what this is? Is Bill Haney's working with Jermaine Ortiz going into this fight, or is that like a rumor?
No, I think he said he worked with him in the past.
That's what I was thinking. Okay. All right. With that being said, more importantly, Jermaine Ortiz, what does he look like when he wins? And then Bill Haney, if you want to speak on that too as well, what he could bring to the table if they were working with each other. But what does he look like to you winning this fight?
I think that
hold on. Not to get you over, not winning this fight. What does he look like when he's winning a fight? You know what I'm saying? That should translate into this one, but same thing, I guess, in a way. Go ahead.
I would say he looked against Teal. But to your point, he has to be first. And he has to be more aggressive. You can't have moments. You got to continuously impress the judges. And if Bill has anything currently, going on or any interaction with Ortiz, he's playing chess. Because if he's looking down the road that Keyshawn could possibly be an opponent, he's already seen what Keyshawn, Ortiz done against Tio, and if you're looking at styles, I think Tio is probably a little bit more athletic than Keyshawn. Against certain fighters, you will see somebody's getting a call.
Oh, we got a phone call coming in. Hold on a second. My bad. Let me see here. Let me answer it. Hold on. ATP, are you on the line? I don't think he's on the line no more. I think he hung up, wherever it was. You could try again, whoever it was. I missed you. Try again, bro. Try again, whoever you were, bro. The line is open. Go ahead, though, Pop.
Yeah, so when I'm thinking about styles and you look at Tio and Keyshawn and athleticism, I think that Tio may be a little bit more athletic in the ring, a little bit more movement than Keyshawn. So he does have that model to kind of go by, because it's like, compared to Tio, Keyshawn is not going to be that much more mobile.
Hold on a second. Let me answer this real quick. Hold on. Mic check. Can you hear me? Oh, hold on a second. Something is wrong here. Bear with me. 1 second here. Let's see. Rogue answer speakers. Why is it not coming through? This is up. Hold on a second. That's weird. Am I missing? Maybe that was him and not us. I don't know. What happened here? Hold on. Let me think here. Let me go to the settings here and see if I missed something here. Audio. Okay, reduce automatic mic volume. Boom. I have no idea, man. That was weird. Sam from Jersey said it's me. Yeah, okay, brother. I don't know why. Let me try something else right here. Let me try something here. I'll go in. Why is that not coming through? Let me see here. Mike, I don't hear you. That's crazy. Hold on a second. Let me try one more thing here. Okay. You there? Hold on. I think I know what it is. Hold on. Don't hang up. I think I know what it is. Hold on. I think I know what it is. No, that's not what it is. I don't know what it is, man. That's crazy. Test. Is it my headphones? I don't know. That's crazy. I don't know. Mic check. Do you hear me? Why? Mute keypad message. Hold. Audio. Microphone. Ringing. Speakers. Everything is set up right. Big Dre in the building says Master Technology. I hear you. Hey, my bad, Sam. Hit the link, man. I don't know what it is. I can't figure it out right now. It is what it is, bro. Sorry about that. Salute to everybody in the building. That was weird. It worked fine just the other day. All of a sudden, it's not working. I don't know what to say, bro. I'm gonna pull this down as a matter of fact too, so we don't keep missing those calls. But it is what it is. Go ahead, Pop Shop. If you can remember where you left off at all.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying I think that Ortiz has live action to pull from. If there's any similarities about his opponents, Keyshawn is probably the closest to Ortiz. I mean to Teal. So like I said, Keyshawn is probably going to be more of a pressure fighter than Teal was. He's probably going to be a little bit more hesitant, knowing that Keyshawn probably is going to possess a little bit more power, and be a little more aggressive. So is he going to be able to stand in the pocket and return fire? Because if he's going to be thinking like, okay, well, I'm going to just box around and try to steal some points off of my experience, I don't think that's going to work in his favor. So if he's going to pull anything from any previous fight to help him in this fight, he's going to have to look more like he did with T.O., but he's going to have to be more aggressive, which means he's going to have to take some chances to win the fight. Because other than that, he's going to end up, being another repeat of what he's been his last few fights.
Yeah, 100%. I agree. I think he should. It's up to him, right? But I think at this point, with the relationship he's built with these judges, and I think there's a relationship there, bro. And these judges aren't seeing, and that was interesting. Keon said earlier that the way he looks like, was it you or Keon who said the way he looks like when he's winning is what he looked like when he was against Teofimo. Like, but the judges don't like that. They're not giving him the win when he does that. So what adjustment does he make? Because he can't do that again, what he did with T.O., because that didn't get him the win. So at some point, he has to put it on the line. At this point, at least manage the fight correctly. The first 4 rounds, make sure you take, or the first 5, take the lion's share of that, get 4 out of 5 of those, or 3, at least 3 out of 5 of those rounds. And then in the last 5 rounds, get 3 to 5 out of those rounds. You know what I'm saying? And then see if you can get an 8-4, an 8-4 victory over Keyshawn. You got to manage the clock. You got to win these rounds, and you got to manage the rounds and make sure, you know, you can play around in the middle, play the little safe in the middle and try to get some swing rounds in there. But in the beginning and the end, it seems like it's going to make the biggest difference for him. Let me bring in Big Dre in the room. Big Dre, what's good, family? How you? You're muted, by the way, Big Dre. I muted you because you had some background sound. Let me let you off the mute. There you go. You're good now. I can hear you if you're talking.
Oh, yeah. I just stopped in to say Happy New Year. I saw you were live. I dropped in to see what the conversation was. Saw
Yes,
you
sir.
were having some technical difficulties. So I
Yeah.
said, let me see if the link works.
The link
She was
works.
having
The
some
phone
phone
line's supposed to work, but it didn't work, man. Something's wrong with it. I got to figure it out.
Yeah, well, I just stopped in to say Happy New Year to you guys.
Yes, sir.
Wishing you guys the best. You know, I'm going to go back and listen because I don't know what the conversation was about.
Okay. I got you. Go.
But
You can go back and listen. Hit the link again. But we definitely talking about Keyshawn. We're about to segue though into the Subriel Matias fight as well, because we actually kind of were segueing because I was talking about Subriel and Alberto Puello in this one. But we'll talk for sure. Appreciate you coming up. Happy New Year's, Dre.
Happy New Year too.
All right, family. So I want to segue before we close out the show here. I want to segue into this Subriel Matias, Dalton Smith. I'm about to say Caleb Smith, Dalton Smith fight. This fight, most people are picking Subriel Matias to kind of steamroll Dalton Smith. I don't see it that way. I have my own personal reasons on it, but I am favoring Subriel Matias to win the fight. Right? I don't know that he steamrolls Dalton Smith. I think that this is going to be a situation where this is somewhat of a redemption to the Liam Paro fight for opportunity for Subriel Matias. Subriel Matias has been somebody who's kind of shown that he's kind of one-dimensional. He tried to be multi-dimensional when he fought against Liam Paro and he got exposed in that fight. He more so is what he was against Alberto Puello, right? That's really who he really is in real time. Is Dalton Smith going to be able to? This Subriel Matias who fought Alberto Puello. I don't know that Liam Paro beats that Subriel Matias, right? Because he had a Subriel Matias who's trying to be more reserved, wasn't letting his hands go as much, was kind of trying to box and time out and get the timing of the cadence of Liam Paro, but Liam Paro did a good job of just being off cadence, mixing up his shots a lot, not staying inside the close range too long, scoring his points. But when he was in there, letting his hands go and taking advantage of a Subriel Matias, who I think was keeping his hands home way too much in that fight. And when he fought against against Alberto Puello, he left nothing, no stone unturned. He let his hands go every single round to the last round, and he was able to convince judges that he was the new WBC champion of the world. And this fight right here, are you guys looking at any intangibles in here that might make a difference for Dalton Smith to be able to deal with the pressure fighter that Subriel Matias truly is? Looks like he's committed to himself now. He's no longer having an identity crisis, which is what I think happened with him and Liam Paro. What do you guys think about that?
Well, I think, when you're fighting, Matias, you're gonna have to go in there and be ready for a pressure packed fight. I think that Puello, he did a good job. He didn't get the nod in the end. Point to what we spoke on earlier about impressing the judges and judges having familiarity with these certain fighters. So it's like the judges they have a preconceived notion about what a fighter looks like when they're at their best game. So if Dalton comes in there and he's more or less being reserved and more cautious of what Matias is going hit him with, or the pressure, he can't handle it, he's probably going to have a tough time getting a decision. But if he comes in there, he's going to have to get the, go on the inside and get the dirty work and make it look tough. Then he makes it look tough for the judges. And, in a question in there is, what Matias is testing. I mean, was he really doing anything? Will that have an effect on him? And we saw how Ryan came back after his controversy. So will that play a role in how Matias performs in the ring? So those are little questions that could be answered. But I think Dalton Smith definitely have to come in and be dirty. You have to find out. You have to check him from the gate. Or that boxing, you can mix it in, but when you know what the guy is, to his core, you got to be ready for that.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that's definitely part of it with him. I think with Subriel kind of waits for you. He'll give you an opportunity to blow your load. Pause. Right. He'll give you an opportunity to let your hands go and be active and even maybe even win rounds. Right. Like he'll let you win rounds even to make his point. I remember when he fought against Shohan Ergachev. I want to say Ergachev. Right, was a fighter that he fought against, and I'm trying to pull it up right here. Yeah, here it is, right here. Shohan, yeah, I was right. Ergashev, and he fought in Vegas. You guys remember that fight at all?
I didn't see that fight.
What about you, Keon? Did you see that fight with Ergashev?
Ergashev against who?
Subriel.
Yeah, I saw that, man. I saw that. That was a dog fight for as long as it lasted. It didn't last that long. Yeah, I saw that fight.
Yeah, Shohan really let his hands go in that fight. Really let it all hang out. Was hitting Subriel with some clean shots. Like I thought, it was a part of me that thought that he might like stop Subriel. So, like Subriel just couldn't get away from that guy. But ultimately, what ended up happening in that fight to me was Ergachev got tired, right? After letting off, putting his foot on that gas, and Subriel was able to take advantage of him and get him out of there. So where Dalton can look good letting his hands go, he has to also pace himself out in this fight. He has to be aware of what Subriel Matias is really doing when he's letting your hands go that way. It's not necessarily that you're that nice. I mean, you are nice, but not necessarily. He's actually setting you up for something bad on the second half of that fight. Am I bugging, Keon?
Yeah, because a lot of times what you see Subriel Matias go in that high guard, let you get off, let you get tired, and then once you get tired, he's just gonna walk you down like a zombie and just keep coming and keep coming and keep coming and break you down. But as far as the Dalton Smith fight, I ain't gonna lie to y'all, man. I can't really even talk about this fight because one of the things on my to-do list was to go study Dalton Smith this weekend. I ain't really seen too much of him, man. I'm not really too familiar with Dalton Smith because he ain't never fought nobody to make me want to pay attention to him. Just keep it a buck, So I'm not too familiar with him. I was looking at his box rec yesterday. Wasn't nobody on there that caught my eye at all. So
probably Jose Zepeda to be the closest.
Yeah, but he was Jose Zepeda was getting whooped by everybody at that point. Exactly. You know what I'm saying? So that's one of the things on my to-do list this weekend is go study Dalton Smith. So I can, be able to, break down that fight and gauge that fight a lot better because I'm not really too familiar with him like that.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat as you, man. I'm looking at his record, but I mean, I've seen highlight reels of him, right? I've watched the highlight reels, so I've been doing that, but I haven't been able to sit down and watch a fight. But in the highlight reel, they're gonna, he's gonna look the way he's supposed to look. It's a highlight reel, so I see what he can do in those moments. You know what I'm saying? He likes to manage that distance, you know what I'm saying? He likes to operate off that jab and he'll pick you apart, you know what I'm saying? He's not a brawler from what I can tell. I just need to watch his fights to see what he's going to do. He stays off that line. He's a counter puncher. He likes he allows you to stalk him, you know what I'm saying? And he'll win rounds, it looks like. But I think that what he's going to have to deal with, and I haven't seen him deal with in any of the highlight reels I've seen of him, is I haven't seen him deal with a pressure fighter. Right? You know what I'm saying? Like I haven't seen him deal with somebody who's going to walk him down and get through all that. Like Alberto Puello, who I consider a boxer, a good boxer, wasn't able to keep Subriel Matias off his ass, pause. He wasn't able to do it. You know what I'm saying? He was able to hit him with clean shots and do things, but he wasn't able to stop Subriel Matias from looking like he won.
Right.
And so what's Dalton going to have to do in this one? And I don't think Dalton Smith is a better fighter than Alberto Puello either, from what I see in the highlight reel. So, I mean, It's gonna be interesting to see how he manages the confident Subriel Matias. And I say that because without a doubt in that Liam Paro fight, he had an identity crisis. You could see it in the fight. And all of a sudden, he kind of went through what Deontay went through when Deontay got in the ring with Joseph Parker. And then you just kind of watched it and was like, what the am I looking at? Like, what is he doing, right? He's jabbing and bouncing Muhammad Ali or something? Oh, I'm lost. It's over. I'm lost. He's done. That's what happened to Subriel in that fight. But Subriel, unlike Deontay, returned.
It out.
I'm saying he came back to himself, and we've seen him against Alberto Puello do something remarkable. So I think that's what this fight is gonna potentially look like. But I'm with you, Keon. I gotta watch. Do some. I gotta catch a full fight of his. Probably today I'll do that though. But it is what it is, man.
It's kind of hard to gauge them guys because, like I said, man, they don't be fighting nobody,
right?
You know, so it's kind of like you like, okay, well, he looked good with this type of opponent, but what is he gonna look against somebody that on a whole different level than what he's fought? That was my problem with the guy that fought Sam Noakes. That was my problem with Sam Noakes. I'm like, man, I saw a lot of great things and I studied him and he was doing, but then I'm like, okay, is he gonna be able to do this with Abdullah Mason? And the thing about it is he actually was.
Yeah.
He was able to do a lot of those things against Abdullah Mason. So it's kind of one of them, you kind of playing with fire if you put money on them type of fights because you really can't. A lot of them fighters like that is hard to gauge over there in the UK with the competition they fight.
Yeah, especially when the culture clash. The culture clash is big. The culture clash in boxing. Yeah, that's always an interesting situation, especially today. Being that American boxers, in my opinion, they've kind of gone down a little bit pedigree wise. They're not as you know what I mean? They're not so those UK fighters who are really traditional and sound fighters are able to come over and take advantage of fighters who've been getting away with a lot of shit over here and haven't been developing themselves, who've been able to get off on the bravado and just knocking people out. You know what I'm saying? Like I always give that example. Edgar Berlanga and Hamza Shiraz was a perfect example of that, right? Like Edgar was able to get by with these 17 first-round knockouts and nobody even cared who he fought against. But when he jumped in that ring with Hamza Shiraz and he got confronted with some pedigree, he was a fish out of water if I've ever seen one. He was flopping around on the sand looking for some water, like looking crazy. You know what I'm saying? He was looking crazy. Shout out to my guy Trini BX in the building.
Yo, salute. Happy New Year, my guy.
What's good with you, King?
Chilling, man. I see you got the bat phone up.
Man,
Respect
I tried,
to the panel.
man, but it went left on me. I got to go in there now and play around in my mix board and see where I fucked up at. Clearly, I dropped the ball somewhere.
I feel you. You're like a kid in Christmas, man. I was watching when you got your first call, man.
You see me pushing the buttons, and I was like, hold on, wait. I was pushing buttons and moving knobs up and pause, up and down and whatnot. It is what it is, you know what I mean? It wasn't my first call. On the last show I had with Greg Hackett.
No, I was watching. Yeah. I'm saying I seen the excitement in your face when you got your first call.
Yeah, I was in
shock. I was watching. That was a dope episode. Respect to Craig Hackett.
No doubt. Appreciate it, man. What you think about this fight though, Trini, man? The Jermaine fight. I know Dominican.
Yeah.
Trini, are you Dominican or you Trinidad?
No, I'm half Trini and half Puerto Rican. So I appreciate this break I'm getting right now. My wife and my mother supposed to fly to Puerto Rico tomorrow. That flight got canceled. My oldest son is in Trinidad, so I'm trying to get him out, but he got Puerto Rican blood. He a mama's boy. He ain't going nowhere. And there's a lot of tension down there right now, so I appreciate this little break, man.
No doubt.
But yeah, man, to touch on Ortiz, man, you got to realize, man, you a Polanco guy. We fuck with Coach. You got to realize, I feel like he beat himself in the Theo fight and the Lomachenko fight. And what that would have did for Dominican boxing had he got that win, being that he speak English. You know what I'm saying? He would have been able to handle a loss to Keyshawn in a close fight right now and still have the backing. Because you need that Dominican support. We're trying to build that up, man. And in the East Coast with those 2 wins, he would have been able to demand Polanco on his undercard. Edwin De Los Santos on my undercard. Even Adames. That's a great fighter. It's just the English barrier. You know what I mean? So it's a lot riding for him.
Yeah.
It's also like sometimes these big fights, if you get to me, that sparring mentality, like you sparring the champ, you falling back a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Because he do be in the gyms. He be in them gyms. And he got the swag to put DR boxing on the map right now, man. So I hope, but Keyshawn's that guy, man. And this is the best timing to catch somebody like Keyshawn coming off. This is a big stage. They're filling up the Garden. with the mental shit that he was going through and all that. I want Keyshawn to pull it off though, because it's like I feel like he can't afford the loss. I don't want Ortiz to be looked at as the gatekeeper, but it still be hope for him out down the line and shit like that.
Mm-hmm.
But that's how I'm feeling on it. I feel like that's got to be in the back of his mind. Just letting them fights, not doing that extra mile to get in there and get those fights. So I feel like it's gonna be the best Ortiz showing up with the best Keyshawn.
Yeah,
and the Bomac thing, that thing, those guys are giving him a call while he's in that locker room this week. Leading up to the fight, I think it's all best wishes there. You don't get in that camp unless you family type vibes.
Right.
So I don't think nothing that happens in the gym is gonna break that part. That's love there to get into that camp. You know what I mean? So that shit ain't affecting nothing.
Bomac's presence not being there for this camp? This is Keyshawn's biggest fight, in my opinion. You know what I'm saying? This guy's been in the ring with 12 rounds with Teofimo, 12 rounds with Lomachenko, arguably beat both those guys. Really, people feel like he got robbed.
No, and then where is they fit in a big room? Tio Oshikor never got the big room in the garden. I think this is a big. This is just that night, because the fights that's taking place that night. I'm gonna be in Puerto Rico that weekend. God, with what's going on now, man? You want to make God laugh? Plan something. You know what I'm saying? Like for real. But that night, man, we're back on fighting in England earlier that day. That's a big night for boxing, man. At the end of January, that's stacked for us. It's pro box cards on that Friday. It's this fights tonight.
Yeah, that weekend is a crazy weekend, bro. I ain't gonna lie. That weekend is crazy.
It's gonna be wild. And then the Matias, to touch on that a little. I'm a Matias guy. I seen all his fights. I was the one. I flew to Orlando to watch with my cousin the same night. I had the Tank Davis and the Frank Martin fight in a small TV. I was getting laughed at by my casual cousins. You know what I mean? They laughed. They got the best laugh because, Matias dropped the ball there, man. I think the crowd got to him. Tito Trinidad in the stands. It just got to him, man. Paro fought ahead of a fight, though. I thought he was going to quit in the 9th round. It was that second that the coach had to get at him like, yo, suck it up and get in there. And he pulled it off. And if you watch that fight, Matias is a real one. I don't know if I'm bugging, but if you watch him when they're announcing the winner, it looked like he mouthed the words and the knew. Like he knew he lost. He's not going to do no Theo shit. When Theo lost against Cambosos and be like, I won 12-1. Bro, it's 12 rounds in a fight, bro. What you just said is impossible. You're not going to get that from him. That's why I didn't like the whole contamination thing and all that. I hope he walks through Dalton. You know what I mean? And then, Puerto Ricans are petty. So there's breakdowns of the Puello fight where they counted every hold, every grab, every hit behind the head. You know what I'm saying? Nobody else is going to get away with that against Matias. So I don't see him getting any more close fights like that. I want him to pull it off. I want the Theo Matias, Theo Keyshawn. There's so many big fights for Matias there. He doesn't have much left in the game. But, yeah, I hope he pull it off. And I'm going to creep by the Barclays, see if I get some cheap tickets. I got somebody to cover me for a couple hours. I might be able to pop in there.
All right. No doubt, man. We'll see, man. It's going to be an interesting weekend, January 31st, and obviously this coming weekend with Dalton and Sabril. I'm interested. I got to watch Dalton, like my guy Keon said, man. I got to watch Dalton, man, and see what this guy really brings to the table. Like, what's the I just need to see what he really brings to the table. I'm not so familiar with him. I've seen some.
The only thing we can't forget is the push from Turkey. When he took the mic from Matias, this is who you fighting next. Dalton has a Turk back, and so it's got to be something there that they're trying. I don't know. So Matias got to really win convincingly. You know what I mean?
You got dominant.
Thanks for hearing me out. I'm gonna keep listening. I work tonight, so I got all this shit going on too. But appreciate your homie with this panel's y'all boxing minds, man. I kept nodding my head in agreement while y'all was talking the past hour, man. Respect to y'all, man. I hope to chop it up with y'all soon.
No doubt. Same here, man. Thank you, Trini. Salute.
Yeah, I'm about to head out and get some grub, man. Put something on his belly.
All right, no doubt. I'm about to wrap it up too. I just brought Adam up right quick. Brought my brother up real quick, man. Shoot, Pop.
Yeah. Assalamu alaikum, Mark. Assalamu alaikum, Mark.
Walaikum salam, rahmatullah. What's good with you, King?
Hey, man, I'm looking forward to this boxing. You know what I'm saying? Got some amateur stuff going on locally out here. I'm in Denver, Colorado, so it's a few people that I'm around training, about to get these kids out of Quran class in a minute and get them in the ring. You know what I'm saying? My 2 sons and my daughter. So we hype. We hype to see these new fights coming up. You know what I'm saying? And we're gonna see who jaw needs to be tested. who still got some noodles in the bowl. So
Yeah,
we're gonna find out. But
yeah, man.
I ain't gonna lie, man. I'm going against Key, man. I'm going against Key. You know what I'm
Why?
saying? I'm going to get.
Why are we going against Key, man? That
Listen,
sounded
listen.
like it didn't sound like you think he's gonna lose or win. It sounded like you said you rooting against him. You rooting for Jermaine?
I'm rooting against him. You know what I'm saying?
Oh
As a native,
man.
as a native Black American, I feel real bad about it. I do, but I ain't gonna lose too much sleep about it. You know what I'm saying? I ain't gonna lose because he'll crash out. He'll crash out, man. He bad. I think he bad for boxing. You know what I'm saying? I think when it all started, you know what I'm saying, when Devin had that win over your boy, you know what I'm saying? And he said what he had to say on live, oh, he got whooped and all that type of stuff. They stole that and whoop de whoop, you know what I'm saying? And then after that, he falls out, with his so-called brother or whatever, you know what I'm saying? And then after that, he calls out Mason, you know what I'm saying, knowing that he wasn't gonna go to 130. He was already shooting up, you know what I'm saying? So he pumped fake Mason, just wanted to try to pull a whole card while a young up and coming fighter, you know what I'm saying, is on the stage trying to share the stage with you. You know what I'm saying? And then, that whole fiasco of that weekend, not being professional, losing weight, you know what I'm saying? And then go jump the next man downstairs. You know what I'm saying? Like, come on, bro. And then you're gonna you kind of put dirt on Bomac name without trying to say it. That's what then so Bomac had to say, you know what I'm saying? Listen here, man, I ain't gonna say nothing due to the respect that I have for the brother, you know what I'm saying, growth. We're gonna leave it like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And when you put dirt on people's name who got a legacy like that, you know what I'm saying? Like, you a crash out, partner. You know what I'm saying? And you're doing that to Hall of Famers. You're doing that to Devin, Hall of Fame. You're doing that to Bomac, Hall of Famers, bro. You know what I mean? So I think I think what he went through, far as in the media, ain't a good enough ass whooping for me. I need that ass whooping in the ring for him. You know what I'm saying?
So after this fight, you'll try to mend the differences. After this fight, you'll be like, all right.
After he get his ass whooped, I'm going for Ortiz.
After he get his ass whooped.
Yes. I don't know if Ortiz gonna do it, but once somebody do it, I can now go back to, you know what I'm saying, pom-pomming for him. But he need his ass whooped, man. He was at all that, he had bad publicity, wasn't that good enough? No, man, you didn't whoop the dude downstairs. No. Where were you at when where being chastised on TikTok is good enough of a life lesson? I ain't that soft. No, you need your ass whooped, bro. You know what I'm saying? You need your ass whooped. And then, yeah, so that's the surprise that I had. I wanted to come up here and say it's a lot of us that's going against Key who don't want to say it because it's not politically correct. You know what I'm saying? But I'm that guy to say it. It's a lot of us that he rubbed the wrong way, and we want to see his ass get whooped.
I don't feel that.
Okay, I mean, I think that's a whole bunch of personal shit, but like that, we up here talking boxing, like you. I don't know. I think you and your feelings a little bit, dog. Like
I'm in my feelings. I'm a human. Yeah, I'm in my feelings. That's
like we not worried about all that extra shit. We just talking boxing, like. I don't know, man. That man ain't did nothing. That man ain't did nothing personal to me. I'm not finna get up here doing all that crying about what another man going through. Dog. I mean, like we just talking about who gonna win and trying to break down these boxing matches. Man, you came in here like that man that killed one of your family members or something.
No. It ain't about. Listen, man. I'm a real man. I raised real people in life, and what he did physically to somebody, and you don't feel a certain way, that's okay.
Man, you don't know what that man did. You wasn't backstage with them.
Yeah, because I'm telling you, I'm gonna be real with you. I got people who are telling me it wasn't even all that. I got people who was back there who was like, yo, they blew that. They're saying that thing got blown up. Like, it wasn't like that at all. It was friendly until it wasn't. I heard it just got blown. I'm gonna tell you what I heard straight up.
That's great. That's great. Okay, my bad. Go ahead.
What I heard was security turned it up. I heard, you know what I'm saying, they were in front of each other, talking ish to each other, and security got involved a little too early. You know what I'm saying? And once people started getting pulled around and separated and snatched up, it got crazy. You know what I'm saying?
That's great. That's great for everybody to feel a certain way. You know what I'm saying? And that's why I came up here to get my piece, because I respect y'all piece. I ain't calling y'all. I ain't calling y'all. You know what I'm saying, some glizziers or nothing like that. All right. So I don't want to be called so I don't want to be called no crybaby, but I like to give my piece without saying, "Oh man, you crying." No. No one's glizzy and no one's crying. We just talking about on the fan level.
You be glizziers. I don't even know if that's what
right. Like, come on, man. Let me just hype up my scenario on what I'm looking for. That's all I'm doing. You know what I'm saying? As a fan, I'm in the ring. You know what I'm saying? I'm doing my thing, my training. But as a fan, I want someone like that who's a crash out, who put dirt on Hall of Famers' names and careers during their fights and in their camps. Yeah, it don't have to be nothing personal, because I'm not in the camp with them. You know, it's just like a team. I look at all sports as individual teams or 11-man teams like football. You know what I'm saying? So why do I like certain teams? Why do I like certain people like Mason? Because of their character. So I push Mason, and people like Mason because I think he has great character, and he proves it in the ring.
Yeah.
And so when it comes to Key, that's my asterisk, I would say, about him. You know what I'm saying? He proves it sometimes in the ring where he fell off at the scale. You know what I'm saying? He proves it sometimes in the ring. And so the things outside of the ring, the circus and stuff like that, that's why I go against certain people. Because when you don't show up professionally and you'll crash out, I need your ass whooped. And I like to say that, you know what I'm saying, publicly, you know what I'm saying, because when people put dirt on the industry, it's just not good. You know, it's not good. I can say that about a lot of managers too. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people like Eddie Hearn is doing. So, you know what I mean, I can go on and on about certain careers, but we're on this topic with Keith. I want his ass whooped because what he did to Hall of Famers like Beaumont, like Keyshawn. I mean, not Keyshawn, but like Devin, and what he did, what I believe. And what I believe came downstairs to crash out on that boy who beat his brother. So yeah, that's all I want to say. And I want to hype this shit up so everybody can be excited to watch it.
No doubt.
So who do you have winning the fight though?
Yeah.
Like, as far as like a breakdown on the fight, like who do you have winning the fight?
Oh, I got Key winning. As far as with Ortiz.
Yeah.
Yeah. I got Key winning. I don't think Ortiz is going to do it. I think he's a clock manager. You know what I'm saying? And I think he's not a brawler. You know what I'm saying? So if Keyshawn can get him into a fight, you know what I'm saying, get him off of his game, then I believe that it's going to be overwhelming, because first of all, this guy, man, he's on the ropes, and if you don't get off the ropes with Key, he's going to let loose at everybody. And even if you're blocking it with the high guard, it's going to look like you're getting your ass whooped, and it may be a wave off early. But I hope that with Bill Haney stepping in, that he got at least one or two Haney tools from the tool shed. That's all I hope. It's a hope. It's something I'm throwing it out there, but I don't think he got it for.
I think you're going to see Jermaine. This is what I believe. I believe you're going to see Jermaine control. I don't think he's going to be on the ropes. I think he gets off the ropes, and he's not going to let that happen to himself. I think this is going to be an all-out boxing match. I think this is going to be the fight that I wanted to see Keyshawn in with Dennis Berinchek. I was hoping Dennis Berinchek could do that with Keyshawn, but he just got steamrolled. He wasn't able to compete. But I think we're going to see boxing January 31st between these two guys, and I think the guy who can successfully turn it violent is going to win the fight, and I think it's going to be Keyshawn. I think Keyshawn is going to be able to take the boxing into a violent space that I don't think Jermaine's going to be able to compete in that space. I think he's going to try to, because I think he knows in the back of his mind that he has to let it all out in this fight. He's had 3. This is going to be his 3rd shot at doing something significant in the space, and he can't fail a 3rd time. It's going to be very difficult for him to get an opportunity like this again.
Now, my thing is, how long has it been for Key to fight? When was his last fight?
Key's last fight was, let me see. I think it was
because what the only chance that Ortiz got. The only chance that Ortiz.
Yeah, it was February 20. It was February 14, 2025 was his last fight.
Now,
so
but only
year out the ring.
That's what I'm about to say. That's what I was thinking. Like, the only chance is his gas tank. If he wants to, because I believe he really wants to get back in good graces with all fan bases that feel like I feel that went real hard on him during his whatever situation. I was one of those guys that was really disappointed in it. I think that he really wants a knockout, an early knockout. And if he, just goes out there and empty his tank in those first 3 rounds, and Ortiz can manage that clock and get the hell away from him, I believe it's a better fight. But if he try to lay on them rope while Keyshawn trying to impress us and win back that fan base, yeah, it may be waved off early in the first 3 to 5. So I'm thinking 3 to 5, and it gets waved off because Key does have that skill to put his ass in the corner and well on his ass. And I don't think that boy has footwork. I really don't. So we're gonna find out.
What do you think, Keon, about him not having footwork?
Oh, Jermaine Ortiz.
Yeah,
Jermaine Ortiz getting away from Key.
I think Jermaine Ortiz. Like I said earlier, I don't know if Keyshawn gonna stop him, because I think Jermaine Ortiz, if he want to survive, I think that he does have the footwork. That's one of his attributes to me.
That's what he did to
you know what I'm saying? Yeah, that's one of his attributes to me, and he's shown that he could do that for 12 rounds. It's just that he's not on Keyshawn's level. I think that he don't have that dog in him like Keyshawn. He don't have the all-around skill set of a Keyshawn Davis when it comes to just the whole offensive arsenal and defensive arsenal. Like Keyshawn, man, he could fight inside, outside, mid-range. Like, that's one of the things, and he fights inside very well too. He liked that rough shit. Like Keyshawn, he liked to get rough. But we have seen, Keyshawn have close fights with somebody that know how to box, like Albright. Now, Albright, that was a tough fight for Keyshawn. But like I think since then, Keyshawn has took his game to another level, and he did that with the Bomac camp. He did that with the Terrence Crawford camp. So yeah, man. I don't know.
I mean, when you was watching Lopez and Ortiz, did you feel like he was getting away from him, or because I saw a lot of just hiding in corner to corner.
Nah, I thought he was. I thought he was boxing well. I thought he was making Ortiz look like a damn clown, missing big shots. I thought he was landing the more effective punches. Like, to me, he wasn't. It wasn't just running, because he was making Ortiz pay a lot. He was making Ortiz. Yeah. Tio, my bad. He was making Tio pay a lot. To me, like I had that fight like 8-4.
Yeah, I thought Jermaine won that fight very comfortably. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Yeah, me too.
I thought it was legitimately. I thought it was a robbery, but I do understand. Once again, this goes back into what I was saying earlier, as far as what does it look like when a fighter's winning how do you
Clay?
Yeah,
I think that right in that instance, right, we got to look at the context behind why Tio got that victory. I don't think that was one of those fights to where I was like, well, it kind of looked like this and like, because, man, we all saw that shit. It looked like that Tio got his ass, that he got beat clearly, right? I think with the context, he got outclassed, right. But I think the context behind that fight was, at that point, they was trying to make Tio a star. Like they put T.O. in these certain fights. You know, they're trying to make him a star, but he just never got over that hump, right? Because of fights like that, right? So at the point of time, who T.O. was compared to who Jermaine Ortiz was, like they didn't put T.O. in that fight for him to lose.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like T.O. was supposed to win that fight. He was supposed to go on to bigger things, like maybe, you know what I'm saying, a Tank fight or whoever, right? At that point, they was trying to make him a star. So when we seen Ortiz derail that, okay, damn, this wasn't supposed to happen like this. What we got to do? Well, we already got the judges in play, right? We already got the judge. We're not going to let T.O. lose like this. I think that's kind of what it was. Top Rank wasn't going to let T.O. lose like that. You know,
I guess
that night you would have had to damn near stop T.O., right? For him to lose. We've seen that happen in boxing a lot. So sometimes, man, as a fighter, depending on the status that the fighter that you're going up against, if you somebody like Jermaine Ortiz at that point, he ain't had no name. He was a nobody, really. You know what I'm saying? You that fighter has to get a knockout against that fighter, or he has to beat that fighter up so bad to where nobody can deny it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's a dominant.
Right.
Do you think that Keyshawn is that kind of fighter? Because he's in this situation, Keyshawn is the Ring Magazine ambassador. He is part of Turkey's, you know what I'm saying, entourage. Like, you know what I mean? He's part of that. Do you think this is that Jermaine is facing the same, you know what I'm saying? Is he facing the same situation again where he has to really dominate Keyshawn Davis to get a head nod with the judges on this one?
I mean, I think that, because it's kind of like, if you see Keyshawn struggling the way that Teofimo did, we're all gonna look at that shit like, Keyshawn lost. Ain't no way that the judge can get his shit to Jermaine Ortiz. Like, we never seen Keyshawn struggle like that, right?
Right.
That wasn't the first time we seen that happen with T.O.
Right. You got Sandor.
You know what I'm saying? It wasn't the first time we seen T.O. get those types. But if we see that shit happen to Keyshawn, that's a much more aggressive fighter, right? Much more a fighter that dominates, and then he go in there and he's looking like T.O. was and missing wild shots and, you know, getting countered. I don't think that somebody like Keyshawn gonna get that nod. You know what I'm saying? I don't think somebody like Keyshawn's gonna get that nod.
Wow. It is what it is.
Right.
It is what it is. Adam, you wanted to say something right quick because we about to wrap it up.
Yep. I was just gonna say, I would watch Ordonez fight again, because I think it may be something like that. Maybe a nice it may be going back and forth chess match. I don't think it's going to be a rocket sock'em if it makes it after if it makes it after fifth round. I think it's going to be a chess match. I think it's going to be an even playing field. So when you say if Key gets a little bit of a pushback and it becomes difficult, if it makes it after fifth round, I can see that happening. You know what I'm saying? Because, you know, it's going to be all cerebral from there. And I think Ortiz is an intelligent fighter. You know what I mean? Like I said, he's a clock manager. So whenever he feel like he got one on him, or the other guy gets one on him, he's going to go back and forth, kind of like when he had what's the guy, Jamel Herring. You know what I'm saying? I like that fight. That was a good chess match for what it was. So yeah, man, I'm enjoying Ortiz. Like I said, on Key, man, he's phenomenal. You know what I'm saying? He is one of those guys that has every tool in the warehouse. You know what I'm saying? So it's no knock on his performances at all.
And definitely gonna have to see how the Bomac absence affects him. We got to see that combined with the hiatus, new weight class. Jermaine should be the bigger fighter, I think, in the ring. Jermaine blew his weight last fight he had against Batista. I want to say his last name is I can't pronounce. I know it starts with an A, his first name, but he blew the weight in that last fight. Came in like a couple pounds over the agreed weight limit, but he also blew out Batista. He beat the shit out of him. So
yeah, he better keep them hands up though, because you know he got bloodied up pretty bad by Ordonez. So You know what I'm saying?
But
Just keep your hands up.
he's improved. He's improved a lot since then. That's why I was gonna say, like, that's what I'm saying. This fight right here, and you know, I'm not sleeping on nobody. I'm definitely thinking Keyshawn's gonna win it, but I'm being honest, man. There's a good chance we might see a Jermaine Ortiz that might impress us, even in a loss. We might have to be like, damn, you know what I mean? Because Dornis was before the Lomachenko fight, right? So since then, he's had Lomachenko 12 rounds with him in a fight that a lot of people felt like could have went to a draw, or even Jermaine Ortiz could have got the victory. I thought, for the record, Lomachenko won that fight, but a super close fight. And then you take him up into the Teofimo Lopez fight. Most people think, I don't know, I do. I think everybody on this panel, most people think he beat Teofimo that night. I thought he get put on a masterclass against him, and I think the last couple of rounds was a little shaky because of that headbutt. I think he was protecting an injury, and he didn't want to really mix it up. And I think he should have known in that fight, just based off the Lomachenko results, that he needed to bag at least 2 of those last 3 rounds. And I think it was a shame that he didn't have that second gear. And that kind of goes to what my brother Keon was saying here as far as that dog that he doesn't see in Jermaine. Like the dog has not come out yet. So in this fight, if Jermaine is honest with himself, he takes from the Lomachenko fight, he takes from the Teofimo fight, and he's honest with himself, and he says, you know why I didn't win those fights? It's because that dog didn't come out. I allowed those last 3 rounds to go away from me. I coasted through that. I can't afford to do that this fight. If it ends up in me getting stopped, so be it. But I'm going for it in those last 3 rounds. And if I can win all 3 of them, all the better. But I'm going to make sure I win at least 2 out of those last 3 rounds, preferably including that 12th round, right? To make sure those judges have something in their brain that can get me over the hump and get me a split decision victory on a decision case scenario. You know what I mean? It is what it is. But guys, I appreciate you guys being on the panel, man.
Appreciate you too, brothers, man. Thank you very much.
Appreciate you.
Appreciate
yes,
you.
Sir.
All right. Until the next one, you already know what it is. Shout out to everybody in the building. Hit the like button if you haven't done so before you even think about stepping out. It's diabolical. The thumbs up is looking crazy. Hit the like button. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done it. I wanted to hit that 3,000 subscriber mark before the New Year's end. It is what it is. We're still super close. So subscribe to the channel. Let's hit that 3,000 subscriber mark. And until the next one, you already know it's your boy Clay, more rain. It's at ATP Combat Media, guys. And at this point, we out.
Would make it this far, they hated, they never believe me. Yeah, I would never drop the ball, I know I make it look easy. Yeah, Mayweather with the defense. I don't care what a critic gotta say, I got them picking up the pieces. That to me, you really playing with your life, I'm about to come and run it all back. I'm the new era, about to snap back. You ain't fitting for it, cause you all cap like. Hold up, I shoot my shot, wait, hold up. I'm really about to run this go up. You know it's all net when it go up. Ain't got no other plans, you don't need to understand, ayy. We on overtime, you don't need to understand, ayy. You just show them how to do it when you don't know what to say. Tell me how you plan to win if you plan to play the same. Moving fast, already gone, yeah, but you bringing me back. Try to double cross me, dog, just let me relax. Stop assuming, what we